I will now call this public hearing regarding ordinance 2024-4 to adopt tax rates for fiscal year 24-25 to order. Do we have anyone here who would like to speak on this matter? Hearing and seeing none, we will now close the public hearing regarding ordinance 2024-4 to adopt tax rates for fiscal year 24-25. Thank you. The time is 7:15. The date is May 6, 2024. I will now call this public hearing regarding ordinance 2024-5 to adopt the budget for fiscal year 24-25. Do we have anyone who would like to speak? Hearing and seeing none, I will now close this public hearing regarding ordinance 2024-5 to adopt the budget for fiscal year 24-25. Thank you. At this time, I will now call the Mount Airy Town Council meeting to order. If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the first item on our agenda is the presentations portion. For this, I will relinquish the floor to our Mayor Hushhour and Councilmember Demoter.
All right, folks, appreciate everybody being here. What we are doing tonight is presenting a proclamation that declares May 5th through 11th, 2024 as Public Service Recognition Week. We have an incredible town staff here. They do all kinds of things outside of normal hours. They answer my text messages at 11 o'clock at night from San Diego. They give us a lot of cover in doing our daily tasks and everything, and make sure that the ship stays afloat while we're away. So we greatly appreciate them. And Councilmember Demoter put together a proclamation, and he kind of ran the show on this. So by all means, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. So good evening. As the mayor said, this is National Public Service Recognition Week. And really, the public servants are the backbone of the government. Politicians come and go, but it's the civil employees, it's the civil public servants who know how the operations work, they run the operations, they have the institutional knowledge. So we want to recognize everyone in the town of Mount Airy, if you're a state, federal, local government employee, for your service. We want to especially recognize our own municipal government employees. And so with that, let me read this proclamation. Whereas National Public Service Recognition Week is celebrated the first week of May since 1985 to honor the people who serve our nation as federal, state, county, local, and tribal government employees. Whereas the town of Mount Airy values public service as a noble calling and wishes to recognize its municipal government employees who are the unsung heroes in providing the services that are essential to our citizens' daily lives and that keep our Mount Airy community safe, functioning, and thriving. Whereas the town of Mount Airy thanks our municipal government public servants for dedicating their time, skills, and service to our community, often going above and beyond the call of duty. Whereas many of our municipal public servants go beyond their official roles and support our Mount Airy community on a volunteer basis in a myriad of programs and services. Whereas each day the town of Mount Airy's public servants exhibit the highest standards of professional excellence innovation, integrity, and stewardship while providing outstanding service. Whereas it is with grateful appreciation that the town of Mount Airy especially thanks our municipal public servants for all they do for the town we all call home. Now therefore, the mayor and the town council of the town of Mount Airy, Maryland, do hereby proclaim May 5 through 11th, 2024 as Public Service Recognition Week, and we encourage all citizens to especially recognize the dedication, accomplishments, and tireless efforts of our town of Mount Airy municipal government public servants. So thank you for all you do for our town.
Heather, would you come up if the others...
Everybody to come up.
Tom, you can join us by all means. We'll get Heather, hey, wheel this back here.
Heather said she did not want to be the centerpiece of this.
Heather, come over here. There you go.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
It was 5 pages long.
Good call.
So we'll just leave the microphone there, I guess.
Okay.
Possibly like this, I guess, in case somebody's presenting.
For everyone standing, we're looking for some other chair options.
Hey folks, there's some chairs up
There
front.
are some up front here as well.
Sit up front.
All right, we are now on to the public comment portion of our agenda. How many people do we have here who would wish to speak? Hands high, please, just so I can. Okay. Yeah, for public comment. If we could, please, we'll limit to 2 to 3 minutes max. And Mr. Wagner, would you like to start? Sure. All right.
Stand back a little bit. Okay. Good evening, Clark Wagner with Pleasance Development. As you know, our project Mount Airy Crossing is on your agenda under new business, and I would like to request tonight, and it's listed obviously for a final decision. So I'm here to request tonight that you postpone that until June 3rd. And the reason is that we are still in the middle of testing the on-site well. As you recall, there's a 30-day pump test that started a few weeks ago. It's not complete yet. We also have taken the water quality samples and sent them to the lab to be tested. We do not have those results. We will have those results, including a PFAS test, in a couple weeks. And so we think that you all would be better served to have that information before you make a final decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wagner. Who else was here that would like to speak? Ms. Moon? Can you please just state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
Well, throws a wrench in it, but if you still decide to vote. Good evening, Council. My name's Nicole Moon. I live at 405 Windy Knoll Drive. While I do appreciate the changes that have been made to the Beck pre-concept plan, there are still many major flaws that need to be addressed before this plan can be approved. I urge this council to please look at the plan under a lens of scrutiny, as it will change the feel and look of our town forever. It will be developed, we know and accept that. But the development that goes there must also be an exceptional, award-winning MXD development that adds to our town, not complicate it further. Upon looking at the new plan, I was surprised to see ball fields added to the east side of the development with no plans for parking. Not only are these fields not going to be built by the developer, but they will also not be anywhere near the actual children that will need them. They're not gifted to the town, so will they be HOA maintained? This doesn't help our youth. Families from the west side would have to cross 27 to access them anyway. And do seniors living in their community want ball fields in the middle of it? It doesn't make much sense. The fields are desperately needed here, and with over 180 new families moving into the west side, we will need them more than ever. If the families have no decent open space on Beck West, where will they go? They don't have much yard, and only an acre of central green, so they'll just walk to Watkins. Have you ever been to Watkins on a Saturday in the spring, summer, or fall? It's absolutely overwhelmed. We need more space for kids to spread out and be active. The quality of the open space in MXD matters. The town considers not only quantitative qualities in MXD development, but also qualitative, as in quality. Also, the same issue comes having the seniors on the east side. I appreciate the senior villas. However, having all the senior living on that side means in order for them to be able to walk to the library, senior center, et cetera, they too will have to cross 27, whether by car, which is a nightmare from 3 to 7, or by foot. Which brings me to my main issue. There's no safe crossing between the two parcels, yet they're considered the same neighborhood, with the need to travel to both sides, as MXD should. Town code states, quote, "The pre-concept sketch layout plan and pattern book shall be evaluated based on the purpose and objectives of the mixed-use development." Some of these objectives are pedestrian-friendly environment, safe, bicycle, pedestrian, and vehicular circulation, increase in walkability, and establishing and maintaining a cohesive community. Are we really going to sit here and say this is a safe crosswalk for walkability? It's not even a safe intersection to begin with at Center and 27 in a car. You live here, you drive that road, especially during peak hours. Do you really think tractor trailers and other drivers going 60 miles an hour are going to stop for pedestrians? Are we willing to roll the dice with seniors and families, our most vulnerable populations? The entire development's called Mount Airy Crossing, with no safe way to cross, more like Mount Scary Crossing. By the way, there's already a Woodbine Crossing neighborhood just over the line into Howard County. Real original name. I don't know how to fix these issues. That's not my expertise. Maybe these two parcels should have never been rezoned into one. Definitely. The downtown vision plan never even mentions Beck East. I do feel sorry for Pleasance, as this is not an easy feat to create a cohesive, walkable MXD with Route 27 in the middle of it. It's a terrible idea to begin with, but here we are. The purpose of MXD is to bring people together, walking, biking, outdoor recreation, activities alongside a variety of homeowners. It's supposed to mimic the downtown vision plan. This plan does not look like the downtown vision plan, especially east. On west, the vision plan had 1.5 acres of community green. This plan is 1 acre. That's not even close to big enough for a meeting space. This plan is just some houses thrown together at the quantitative allowed density and some shops on the corners. It's not walkable. It has no actual safe, usable crossing, since the developer doesn't want to pay for one. The open spaces don't have depth for usage. They're just pocket parks and some awfully steep trails in the senior community. There were also many great questions asked at the workshop, but only some were adequately answered by Pleasance. We deserve better answers, and we deserve a better MXD development that is as special as our town is already. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Kelly, come on up. Just please state your name and address for the record. And please try to keep it to a max of 3 minutes.
Sure, I'll be short. I'm Sean Kelly. I live on Springgate Court in Westridge, in town limits. Before my prepared statement, my knee-jerk reaction is I'm not sure what postponing would do. We're already on a revised version of the pre-concept plan since the workshop, and there's already some outdated comments and responses. So I'm not sure what postponing would do. I think it might actually help the process if the constructive comments from the council kind of goes into a new version if that's where it goes. But so just a couple words about the current Beck pre-concept plan. Collectively, we made a lot of progress with this project. This council has listened to the people, corrected mistakes, and has made productive progress with the developer to get to the current version of the pre-concept plan. Reading through the workshop comments, it's easy to get the sense that the pre-concept plan being discussed tonight isn't ready for the next phase. If that's the case, I hope Pleasance and the Design Collective will come back with productive revisions based on the workshop comments as well as tonight's discussion. It's disappointing to read through the workshop responses and see flat-out disagreement. Responses in the vein of, this is how it's done, or flat-out disagreement with a comment that is sure to be an issue in the concept plan phase. To me, they indicate plans to change the complexion of the town rather than a willingness to integrate and harmonize with it. We recently went through this process with the Green Tree development. It took 2 or 3 versions of the pre-concept plan to get to the next phase. The developer listened and compromised. Some details were hammered out early so the majority of the council could be comfortable voting for it. Unfortunately, the deck of cards we're playing with includes 2 large pieces of land on either side of a major artery that were zoned as one. Every council member indicated that walkability and connectivity between the east and west sides is lacking in this plan. In addition to integrating this new type of zone into our town, the challenge of crossing Route 27 needs to be addressed. I hope the developer will address specific concerns early in this process, like disjointed areas and structures, rear-loading garages, alleys, and so on that do not mesh with our identity, because it's just how we prefer to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak on this matter? Yes, ma'am, come on up. If you could, please just state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Gina Dumars. I live at 5607 West Falls Road in Mount Airy. Excuse my speech. I wasn't really planning on speaking tonight. I was hoping that the many, many people that I know oppose this development and who are probably more eloquently spoken than I would do it, but since I see there's not a lot of people here, I feel like I need to speak. I have lived in this community for over 30 years, and we chose our home here and to raise our children here because of this idyllic community with wonderful schools. That aside, the fact that our whole community would be changed, I think what's irrefutable is the safety aspects of water that has not been proven, and even if a test that is done now makes it seem adequate, we all know that our environment is in a series of droughts, so that doesn't really guarantee that there'll be enough water and good quality water, even if this well test does pass. Traffic. There's already a nightmare of traffic on 27, very dangerous intersections. There have been many accidents. I don't think that we can handle a development with anywhere near this number of houses with our traffic situation. Schools, it's my understanding that schools are already above capacity, and maybe we're not at the 115% capacity. That would make it, that would definitely shut this down. I think that the trend is that it's going up, and our schools are one of our most important assets. Fire and EMS, we've already heard the fire department come at the meetings and say that they're already overwhelmed, they are already understaffed, and so are all the other surrounding fire companies. So I believe that it would be a big concern for fire and EMS to add this many more houses. And then the environmental impact of developing such a large portion of land that is now wooded, home to many different native plants and native species of animals. I think it would have a big detriment to our community. So I urge you to please not pass this development as it is now. I think that we cannot handle anything with anywhere near that number of people entering our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'll be very brief. Kira Kovaliova, I live at Park Ridge Drive. I am a town resident. So I wanted to join the fellow speakers who listed the issues at pre-concept plan so very well, and I've been to multiple workshops in the past and to the charrette, and I was part of the input that was provided to Pleasance Development that I don't think we see addressed very well so far. So I am asking Town Council to continue working with the developer group and their design group in improving this plan that addresses the needs of recreation, safety, public facilities for our town. This development, I wanted to remind everyone, that will increase our population by 10% at least, if we trust the numbers, and maybe even more, and it will change our town forever. So Mount Airy is a very desirable place to live. I myself came to live here 4 years ago, and I love this place. And I want the best for it. Like Council DeMotter previously said, we want a truly award-winning development in a new neighborhood that will shine as an addition to Mount Airy, not make it a nightmare. So I urge you to continue working with the developer and to improve this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at public comment? All right, hearing none, we will move on. Thank you to everyone who spoke. We do not have any speakers on this portion of the agenda, so we will move on to approval of council meeting minutes and closed minutes and other minutes related thereto. Regarding the April 2024 Town Council meeting minutes, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
All right, do we have a second? Right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the Mount Airy Town Council meeting minutes from April 8th, 2024, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next up, for the April 2024 closed meeting minutes under 3-305B, subset 3, for land acquisition. I will make a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes from our closed session regarding land acquisition, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. If you look on the agenda, the April 22nd, 2024, we do have a second closed meeting minutes from our budget workshop. Those minutes have not been finalized yet, therefore they will be approved or discussed at our next June Town Council meeting, so we will revisit that then. I will now call Major Wolf up for the Civil Air Patrol report.
Good evening. This is our report for April 2024. Under mission and significant activities, the squadron conducted various emergency services training for our own personnel and some others within the wing in preparation for the upcoming search and rescue exercise that was actually this past weekend. The training included recertifying one member as a ground team leader, and we also, during the month, hosted another squadron at our land navigation course at the Isaac Walton League. Under community support, we provided a information booth at the Mount Airy Teen Driving event that was held at the Carnival grounds a couple weeks ago. We had another member complete all the requirements for the ground team member qualification. And we also supported some cadet leadership training at the wing level and had 3 of our members complete first aid CPR AED certification at wing. No significant flight time to announce this month. Under membership growth, we did have 1 senior member and 1 cadet transfer in from another squadron, so it's another way to grow. And as far as our operational status, our ground team remains fully mission capable, and we still have multiple individuals that are available to support SUAS operations or mission-based operations. On the horizon, the squadron, as I said, the SAREX was actually this past weekend. We participated in that with the rest of the wing. And we also teamed up with several other squadrons in the area to be at the Carroll County Veterans Celebration up in Westminster yesterday. We're currently planning to support the Mount Airy Spring Market and assist with traffic and pedestrian control as we normally do, and start building up in the busy season as the weather's warmer. And we are currently planning to provide a color guard for the opening ceremony at the Ridge Swim Club. Pending your questions, that's my report for this month.
Any questions or comments from Major Wolf?
We all be at the Memorial Day celebration?
We haven't been told anything about that yet. I actually spoke to Chad from the VFW over yesterday, and I think we're going to get spun up into the planning cycle. So more to follow on that, sir.
All right, I think the American Legion is setting up. I'll send you the info.
Roger. I haven't gotten any notification yet, so if you got something to forward me, by all means forward it.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate the report. Thank you. Next up, we'll call Matt Hurd for the Mount Airy Volunteer Fire Company report.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of April, we had 170 calls in Carroll, 66 calls in Frederick, 8 in Howard, 4 in Montgomery, for a total of 248 calls. Out of the 248 calls, We broke it down a little bit farther. Box 113, we actually ran 32 EMS calls and 1 fire. 114, we ran 6 EMS, and Express Care, we did 13 calls. So there's 170, those 39 calls. Box 113 is the Wildwood and Dorian, and box 114 is Pleasant View Nursing Home. So out of those 170 calls in Carroll, there's 39 calls went to the Wildwood as well as Pleasant View. That's our report for Mount Airy. Any questions?
Questions or follow-up?
All right, thank you.
Hey, Matt, or Mr. Hurd, sorry about this.
Oh, it's Matt or
I'm not
Mr.
sure
Hurd.
if you have the data today or not, but at future meetings, if it's available, I'm not sure if the data is available, how many calls you run inside the town and how many calls are outside the town?
We can do it by box area. So
Okay.
we do it by box area,
Oh,
but
okay.
I can give you the majority of the boxes that are in town. I can definitely broadcast that, absolutely.
Cool, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Matt. Next up, the Mount Airy Police Department report with Chief Ginevra.
Hello, everybody. This is going to be our monthly report for April. Meetings and trainings attended. I trained recertification class for links, and all officers through the Mount Airy Police Department are continuing their annual service training requirements. For community outreach, Senior Officer Maduros and myself participated in the Health Fair Expo that we were invited to, so that was a great turnout. Got to meet a lot of different resources out there, and again, we're trying to collectively get those resources that we're going to be hosting our National Night Out this year. It's been some time, so we're pretty excited to get that taken care of. Corporal Brooks and Senior Officer Betcher and Officer Everts and myself participated in the second annual Teen Safe Driving event. Again, another great outcome there in itself. Corporal Brooks did an outstanding job along with the other officers in that event there, doing mock car situations. April 27th, we had our drug take back. It was a little low, just to let everyone know yet again, we do have at the Mount Airy Police Department, you can drop off your prescription drugs. Again, we just ask that there's no sharps or anything like that or liquids. If anyone has any questions, you can call the office and we'd be glad to help you. Again, continuing with recruitment, this past April 6th here, I gave 2 written physical agility exams for new candidates. Again, currently the application process for laterals and entry levels has still been closed since April 1st of 2024. K-9 Paisley and Officer Everts, 1 scan was conducted with the Carroll County Sheriff's Department in the town of Mount Airy at 27 and Main Street, which was a positive alert. That's a continuing investigation through the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. Unfortunately, for one, we did have 1 fatal overdose in the town of Mount Airy on the Frederick side, just to be noted. Again, if there's any of those scripts or anything like that, folks, please turn it in. We have all those little ones running around and maybe potentially getting into things and stuff like that. Or if you suspect anything, again, there's a lot of great resources that I can share, and those folks that participated in that Health Fair Expo, I'd be glad to share some information and try to get those resources out there. On April 23rd, the traffic initiative, it's attached. Overall, a total of 10 traffic stops, 3 citations, 10 warnings. We didn't do any serials. There were 2 traffic arrests, which resulted in 1 narcotic arrest and clearing 5 arrest warrants. A total of 10 body cam footage was referred to from the Sheriff's Department on the Carroll and the Frederick side. Overall, for our calls of service was a 30.52 increase. We had 543 calls of service. Again, just to let everyone know, that's not only the calls that come in from 911, but that is self-initiated also with the officers. That is part of that calls for service. I'd like to note in itself, though, I had a wonderful opportunity to recognize one of Mount Airy's officers in itself for last year that the Frederick County Chamber of Commerce was able to host, that the Maryland State Police recognized the Mount Airy Police Department and invited us, and a lovely lady there, Miss Debbie Streeton from the Chamber, invited the Mount Airy Police Department to participate, at which time that I noted and submitted for Officer Gregory Gebhardt, that was awarded Officer of the Year for the Mount Airy Police Department. Mayor Hushauer got an opportunity to share that event also with myself and Officer Gebhardt and his wife. So congratulations again to Officer Gebhardt for his wonderful efforts, and the duties that he's performed in the town. Just to note some of it, again, it's attached to your information, but some of these folks may not be aware of it. There was a burglary in town. There was a recovered stolen auto that resulted in an arrest, and again, with a burglary that was in town also, along with a seizure of a substantial amount of narcotics also here in the town. So again, these things are here in this town, unfortunately, but I just want to let folks know that it does happen in here in Mount Airy for some of these things, of some of the transient traffic that does come through on our lower end that I've been questioned several times about down at Chick-fil-A, the 7-Eleven, McDonald's, and the Walmart area. So again, folks, it's not happening up in the top section. I know even sometimes some people say they're not seeing a Mount Airy officer. We're here. We've already passed through your development, but a lot of that activity is down at the lower end from people coming off from 70 and not belonging here in the town. So that's where those officers are deployed on that. And we continue to do our monthly traffic initiatives for the Main Street corridor, and then any of the complaints that come in that we make sure that we address. Not only that, attached to the other information, I'll try to keep this short too, is we've been having a lot of complaints with dirt bikes and things of that nature through the parks and stuff. So, and it's not that some of the negative that we've had for comments is, we're not asking anyone to snitch on anyone or anything like that, but it's just making it aware that some of these officers maybe can talk to some of these younger kids and address some of the vehicle laws in itself. We don't want to see anyone get hurt. This town is putting a great effort and responsibility in building and producing some of these parks and rec centers and having it that it's open. But if you're going to have these dirt bikes or mopeds and things like that, for anyone out there, we don't want to see anyone get ran over or anything like that. Same thing going back to, again, with the dogs on leashes and that command and control also. If you see something that it's any animal, whether it's a dog, a fox, somebody had posted that may have even seen a bear in town, just give us a call and we'll have the officers dispatched there. If it's something that we as the police department can't handle, we'll make sure that we get animal control or DNR to address those issues. So please, again, just call for those dirt bikes. It's not snitching. It's just being helpful to put some education out there to maybe some of these younger kids that aren't aware of it. We don't want to see anyone get hurt. Same thing with the animals, please. Thank you.
Any questions?
No real questions, just a couple comments.
Yes, sir.
Two things here. There was something happened close by to my house a couple weeks ago. Once you all handled it wonderfully. So shout out to the officers that responded to that. And also a big shout out to you, the officers and the police department, and the public message that you sent out on Friday related to the lockdown at the Carroll County schools related to an investigation going on at Wagner's, Chief. So thank you.
Correct. And just to touch on that, sir, I know a lot of people were questioning about the Wagners. Due to that investigation, or so to say that sting operation that was conducted on that day, is that the school in the vicinity where that investigation was conducted, there are 2 schools there, and it was our top priority that those kids were, it was a priority, it was safety. I know, again, and I've mentioned it last time, we do not have somebody that's 24/7 on social media that's able to put out that information. It's myself and another officer, and as quickly, as soon as possible, once everyone is safe and secure, and that involves anyone in the investigation, we'll make sure that we disseminate that information properly to the town.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have one question. Thank you.
sir.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the information about the narcotics arrest. And I was looking through the report, and I know there's like onesies and twosies here, but I was just curious, and we're about halfway through the year, or almost halfway through the year. How does what we see so far this year compare with last year or the year before in terms of narcotics, possession, use, opium, synthetics, other types of things?
We're probably, if you're asking just for narcotics in itself, we're probably ahead of what we had for last year.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Questions, comments? All right, thank you very much, and thank you for the tour the other
Yes,
day of the police.
yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we will now move on to our mayor, council, and staff reports. We will begin with the mayor's report with Mayor Hushhour.
All right, thank you. Since this might be a longer meeting than normal, I'm just going to hit the fact that Memorial Day is on May 27th. The program will be held on May 27th at 11 a.m. at Pine Grove Chapel and Cemetery. Thank you to the American Legion, the VFW, Marine Corps League, the Civil Air Patrol, who apparently needs to be contacted now, and all the scouting groups and other volunteers for putting together this recognition of all who paid the ultimate sacrifice to ensure the United States of America remains the greatest country in the world. So that completes my report.
Any questions for the mayor?
Just on the Pine Grove on the Memorial Day, I might have missed it. The time for that?
11
Okay, thank you.
a.m.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to our Recreation and Parks Board, Beautification Commission, and the Flatiron Task Force with Council Secretary Galletti.
All right, I'll make mine quick. For Flatiron, there was no meeting in April. The subcommittees are continuing to work on fundraising and grant writing. And right now, we've received $160,000 in grants. And thank you, Ashley, and anybody on staff that put in. Right now, we've submitted another $785,000 in grant applications. So thank you to staff for doing that. So stay tuned for upcoming meetings. Oh, wait, I'm going to read a couple of the, no, that was it from the mayor. I just kind of summarized your stuff. Beautification met on 4/16, Town Hall. If anybody wants to volunteer, that's a great commission because they're done in less than 45 minutes, like boom, boom, boom. Although they work around town to make up for it 24/7. I see them at 7 in the morning going to work and they're out there weeding. They approved their budget for the next fiscal year. They have weeded all the gardens at all the parks around town. They're planting, the gardens are in good shape. Couple comments on rails to trails. So on the west, the large carving that's being done is going to represent native trees. I thought that was kind of cool. The fencing near the end of Sunset will be installed in the next couple weeks, along with the swing gates, clarifying the access from the end of Sunset to rails to trails and rails to trails up Sunset along that public right-of-way that we've discussed. So also, please pick up your trash. I really don't enjoy walking along seeing your dog's poop bags sitting at the end of the trail. Our town employers are not there to curb your dog. Please be responsible citizens to keep our town how we all love it and pick it up. What I thought out something very interesting on Rails to Trails East, going from town to Watkins Park, there are snakes out there. So careful when you veer off the trail, because apparently down in the watery area, there's snakes, so just heads up. I don't like snakes. They are in their own habitat, and they're doing a Rails to Trails Weed Warrior Day, say that fast, being scheduled with some local scout troops, and Ashley is welcoming any volunteers that want to participate in Weed Warrior Day. Just call Town Hall and ask for Ashley. The next beautification meeting is May 21st. Town Hall, 7 o'clock. Like I said, it'll probably be about 7:30. Parks and Rec, interesting stuff coming up. Dog adoption event was approved for May 25th from 11 to 2, Watkins Park, near the dog park. There's going to be booths, dog grooming, nail cutting, puppies will be available. The Windy Ridge Trail, grand opening to be determined. Intro to the trail, well, they just had that on the 28th, and if you go on Facebook, it was huge, right?
Yeah, there were about 50.
About 50 people, and they're coming from not just around the state, but other neighboring states to go onto that Windy Ridge Trail. So kudos to the Ellises and everybody working on that. And signage is needed for the trail, and they're working on that too. Skate park signage is going to be updated. The next meeting, Parks and Rec, May 23rd via Zoom. You can contact Mike Regal if you want to speak, or you can see them live on Facebook. And that concludes my reports.
All right, thank you very much, Council Secretary. Next up, we have the Planning Commission with Councilmember Evans.
Thank you. For Carroll County planners, the water and sewer amendment public hearing will be on May 16th. It will be up for adoption on May 30th. The Frederick County planner was not in attendance, so there's no update from Frederick County. For new business, we had Tony Pazzo's signage was approved, and he stated they're shooting for early June opening date. The King Sports Construction subdivision of Lot 15B is awaiting ESA Phase 1 to assure everything's environmentally safe. The approval of the concept site development plan was deferred until next month to review the APAFO waiver and other conditions. The approval of the monument sign and flagpole on Lot 15B was unanimously approved, and the approval of final site development plan for Lot 14B was approved unanimously with conditions. The master plan has been passed off to county and state for their 60-day review, and once the reviews are done, we will dive in again and get it ready for the council to review. Thankfully, we have 2 months to breathe before we have to dive back into that. Our next meeting is on Monday, May 20th at 7:30 here at Town Hall, and that concludes my April PC report.
All right, thank you. Next up will be the Streets and Roads Commission and the EDC with Councilmember Demoter.
All right, thank you. There was no EDC meeting in April. Our next meeting will be held on May 22nd at 7 p.m. For Streets and Roads last met on March 28th, and just a reminder of some of the progress from Streets and Roads. Based on a unanimous recommendation from the commission, and with myself serving as the liaison and an advocate for this action, at the last council meeting, the council and the mayor agreed to pave both sides of Prospect Road in the areas affected by the water line replacement project, with paving to begin around May 15th. So please be patient with that operation, but know that the entire roadway in the affected area is being paved. The teen driving event held on April 13th at the Carnival Grounds was a very big success, and we thank everyone who volunteered their time and those who participated in the event. And we also want to thank the Planning Commission for their helpful engagement in working with us and guiding us to update the transportation chapter and related sections of the draft 2023 master plan being prepared. In particular, the chairperson and the co-chairperson for their coordination efforts with me and with all the members of Streets and Roads. So thank you very much. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 4th at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall. Just note that's a little bit different of a date. Usually we meet at the end of the month, but again, to accommodate everyone's participation, it's on June 4th here at Town Hall. And that completes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Demoter. Next up, the Recycling and Sanitation Commission and the Sustainability Commission with Councilmember Munder.
All right, there was no recycling and sustainability meeting in the month of April. That commission is scheduled for May 15th at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall. We did attempt to hold a sustainability, the recycling and sanitation wasn't held. That's this month. The Sustainability Commission meeting was attempted to be held 4/17 at 7 p.m. Unfortunately, there were not enough members present to hold a quorum, but we did continue discussing some various topics, just generally discussing like composting and other areas related to sustainability. I am, as Councilwoman Galetti says, putting the call out there for new members for this commission. So if you have interest in working on the Sustainability Commission, please call Town Hall and throw your name into the pot. We did hold the shred event, was held on April 20th. Approximately 8,400 pounds of shreddable material were collected and disposed of. The next meeting for the Sustainability Commission is scheduled for June 19th, 7 p.m. here in Town Hall. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Munder. Next up is the Water and Sewer Commission and the Commission on Aging and Livability, otherwise known as COLE, with myself. The Water and Sewer Commission met on May 1st at Town Hall. As an FYI, the county assessed the need for a retrofit of the stormwater management in the Nottingham section of Mount Airy. They determined that the current stormwater management system was adequate and a MS4 level retrofit would be more disruptive to the current environment than simply maintaining the current facilities. The Department of Natural Resources 5 Million Tree Program offers several grant programs for tree planting on municipal land. Tree planting reduces the potential and severity of floods, as well as helps replenish the aquifer. The program offers free trees through Clear Ridge Nursery, which is a local Carroll County nursery. Lastly, the commission has made a recommendation to post a water conservation flyer to the town's website. This flyer has a lot of useful information on how we can do our part to conserve water both in our home and our yards, as well as what to do when we are on a voluntary water restriction. The next water and sewer meeting will take place at Town Hall on Wednesday, June 5th at 7 p.m. As for coal, the Commission on Aging and Livability meeting was held on April 10th here at Town Hall. During my council update, the members of COLE asked plenty of questions pertaining to the Beck property and their concerns regarding all senior housing being located on the east side. The commission reviewed its overall goals and objectives, as well as the course of action and how to accomplish those goals and objectives in the future. The commission also discussed ideas on how to be more self-reliant while also doing whatever we have to do to bring Frederick and Carroll counties together to provide the necessary services for our seniors regardless of county lines. We then continued on ideas regarding potential activity for the active younger senior community. For example, line dancing, pickleball leagues, or a golf league were thrown out. These ideas are to be finalized and presented at the next meeting, which will take place on May 8th at 7 p.m. here at Town Hall. And that will conclude my report. All right, next up, we have our town attorney report with Mr. Tom McCarron.
I attended the April Planning Commission commission meeting reported on by Councilman Evans. There were several matters that required legal advice during the meeting. Prepared most of the materials that are on the agenda tonight, mostly for introduction, including on the annexation matter. Provided general advice, and we may have a closed session, I think, to discuss another matter. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Town Administrator, any additions to your report that was given to us?
No, sir, thank you.
All right. And Code Enforcement report, no. And then Zoning Administrator, good to go?
Thank you.
All right. All right, we will now move on to the new business portion of our agenda. First up on the new business will be the approval or denial of the Mount Airy Crossing, otherwise known as the Beck Property Pre-Concept Plan. Before we get into this, clearly Mr. Wagner presented an option for the council to recommend a motion for a continuance or a tabling until next month. Before we start the process, would anyone like to motion to have the vote tabled until the June meeting?
I would like to make that motion to table the vote until the June meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We will now move on to the discussion portion. Anyone wish to discuss first?
Yeah, I will discuss first. I made the motion primarily due to the fact that, if you recall, I believe one of my logical reasons for in the April meeting to delay the vote until a later date was related to the well testing. And it was indicated that they were doing it, but they weren't really sure of a hard finish date of that testing. We now currently have a hard finish date of it. And throughout this whole process, and I believe most of the other council members have indicated that they would love to see those test results to see if they are doable for what is being proposed. And since water will be and still is the primary limiting factor for the area, and a lot of the emails that we received this for the meeting and in general, people have always brought up water as a concern for not moving ahead with this project or denying it or sending it back to the drawing board to get a different plan. So I'm willing to hold it for June. It's not going to make any difference in the long run, in my view. but I believe the water information or the well GPD and the quality of water is important to know before we move ahead with this vote.
Any other discussion?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
So I want to make note that Pleasance Development delivered a letter via email to the mayor and town council dated March 28th, 2024, regarding the Mount Airy Crossing pre-concept sketch plan, stating their request that the plan be placed on the town council's April 8th, 2024 agenda, and that the council approve their plan. So they have asked for a decision and a recommendation on Mount Airy Crossing. I'm prepared to do that tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Yeah, I want to just add to something Councilman Munder said. And clearly throughout this process, we've listened to the citizens, the developers listened to the citizens, the designers listened to the citizens. And that did stick out as soon as I heard tonight that the water testing and the water test that has been sent out and the well results, and that's been a huge concern of the citizens do we have adequate water? Is it going to be there? Are they really, do they have it? Or are they just saying they have it? So that kind of jumps out at me as something the citizens have been very concerned about. So it seems like we should have that information before making a decision. And again, we're only voting on the pre-concept plan. We're not the be-all, end-all of the whole project. It's really the beginning of a very long project. So that jumped out at me that Councilman Munder said, and that's the first thing I thought of when I heard it from Mr. Wagner tonight. So I just want to point out that's something the citizens have asked for, and it sounds like we're about to get that answer, which I think is a kind of an important answer.
Okay.
Yeah, as a mayor, I would tell you that I think that waiting one more month is not going to hurt this council to sit there and collect some more facts. So if there's more facts coming, I think it makes for a more educated decision. I'm not saying that you guys haven't thought your way through this, and maybe you've determined your vote based on other reasons, or as a discussion progresses, you'll come up with something else. But I think a process that has taken years to occur, waiting one more month to get some more answers is prudent, in my opinion. But that's, it's a council decision, so.
Council President, if you so indulge me, may I ask Mr. Wagner a question just to verify to make sure that the test results would be available at the June meeting? So I don't want to be saying that if they're available at the June meeting, then we're going to hold it no matter what, if there or not. So I just want to verify that we're not going to have like something in June come up with another excuse, another reason that would be, requesting another delay in the vote.
Right. No, we'll definitely have the water quality results and the 30-day pump test results well in advance of that meeting, and we'll get the information to you the week before, if not sooner, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Anyone else have anything to say regarding the motion on the table? All right, I will go ahead and just speak my piece. I understand the need to want to get this information out there now. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to the pre-concept plan, we don't need APFO information to make our decision based on the pre-concept plan. If I were to turn this project down with the thought that there's not enough water or not enough schools or school space or other APFO matters, that would not be conducive of this council or the town and would open us up to litigation. Because we cannot take APFO matters into account when it comes to the pre-concept plan, because they are not a part of the approval or denial process for the pre-concept plan, I don't see how the water will put us in a position to even utilize that to approve or deny the plan as it stands right now. There is nothing in the code that states if you don't have water, you can disapprove the pre-concept plan, right? That's not what we're looking at when it comes to this part or this section or this step of where we are in the planning process. So for that reason, I don't see the need to postpone. You know, if there is an approval that's going to happen, it should be approved based on the layout and the way that the code describes what it should be for the approval. If it's going to be denied, it should be denied based on this step of the code and where we stand it right now to deny the pre-concept plan. So for those reasons, I will not be in favor of a postponement. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we have a motion on the table that has been seconded to postpone the pre-concept plan vote for the Mount Airy Crossing or Beck property to the June meeting. All in favor of this postponement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right. So we will move on. Just to give you and the public a quick heads up, because of this particular item, this process will actually be a little bit different than what you've seen in the past. Both the council and the representatives from Pleasance and the Becks have been apprised of this. It will act more as a quasi-judicial type, hearing almost, just for this line item. So at this time, do we want to put the table out for them? Or do you guys think you need the table or do you want to stand?
Yeah, I think we're fine.
Okay. All right. So at this time, what I would like to do is give Pleasance and their team 15, 20 minutes max to do any sort of presentation. What I would advise is that anything that has already been previously said is already entered into the record. So this would be just for new information only. So follow it, yeah, and I'll go ahead and finish up the process. So yes, the Pleasance development team will have their opportunity to speak. We will then open up to anyone who would wish to testify, correct?
So they'll testify.
Right.
They can be subject to cross-examination.
Yes.
Then others in the audience can present their own testimony if they wish. They'll be put under oath, subject to their cross-examination.
So yes, and then the council will as well. I will advise the council when we get to the portion where we have our questions, this is not a time to discuss your reasoning for or not for the way you're going to vote. This is only to either ask questions, clarify, et cetera. Until there is a motion on the table that has been seconded and we are in the discussion portion of this matter, we will not discuss our reasonings or how we will vote. Yes. Okay. All right, so Mr. Wagner, if you would, please just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. That was my first time doing that. So.
Okay. Clerk Wagner, Pleasance Development. I think what we're going to do presentation-wise is try to summarize and focus specifically on the criteria in the code that is to be used for approval of a pre-concept sketch plan in the MXD zone. So I'm going to cover a couple of those sections and then turn it over to Cecily Bedwell, who will get into the purpose and objectives of the zone itself. So in terms of section 9861B, the code requires that the sketch plan have specific information on the plan itself. And all of that is listed in the code. What we've submitted most recently, the pre-concept sketch plan includes an illustrative plan. It includes the open space environment and stormwater management plan. It includes the open space and amenities precedent images. So all of that combined is what we have submitted as the pre-concept sketch plan. And all of the items listed in section 9861B are shown on those documents. And I'm not going to go through them because I don't think we have to get into that level of detail. And then in section, let me get to the right page here. Section 9861E, 1 through 4, requires that we follow a specific process for approving the pre-concept sketch plan. And so just to review that quickly, we submitted a plan dated October 24th, 2022. We submitted that plan the next day on October 25th, 2022. That submission started the process, started the ball rolling. From there, we went to a charrette that was held by the Planning Commission on January 19th, 2023. Following that charrette, there was a second 3-day charrette, which was held at the request of the Planning Commission on May 20th, 22nd, and 23rd, 2023. And then following the second charrette, there was a public hearing held on September 27th, and then again on September 30th. As far as the requirement to post the property and send out public notice, that was done by your staff. And then we went to the workshop, which was held on February 13th, 2024. In response to the workshop, we submitted on March 8th a new plan and a response to some 120 questions and comments that were raised at the workshop. And then the last thing to occur was your vote on April 8th not to continue the workshop. So that brings us up to date as far as where we are. All the documents that we've submitted over the preceding 18 months demonstrate that we've met that section of the code. And from that, do you have any questions of me before I turn it over to Cecily?
I've got a couple questions. Council President, please forgive me if this was covered in your testimony here. It appears that throughout this whole process, every time there was a public meeting held, you altered the plan regarding, not in accordance, but I would say more regarding the comments and things that you have received, correct?
Following that meeting?
Following that, yeah. I mean,
yes.
Well, like
I think we're on plan number 4, if you're counting. I think we're on plan number 4, if you're counting.
That's somewhere, I believe, too. Second question, throughout this process, I mean, you took out the apartments, you reduced the density, you started at, I'm going to say, I'm pulling the number, maybe 650 units, somewhere around there.
I think it was 582.
As I said, I'm just guessing right now. It's been, as you said, four iterations, 18 months. I've been involved in this for probably six years now. So you've changed it, you've lowered it, you've met all the various requirements that have been put before you to meet. And I want to bring up more some of the specifics, because when this plan started, all the commercial was on the west side. I believe some of the comments were to make it more of an MXD type setup. A lot of it should be evenly spread, and that is where the plan stands now. The commercial is on both sides, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that was in response to public and council comments, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think that covers my question right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Wagner? All right. Do you have anyone else that you would wish to testify for?
Yeah, Cecily Bedwell's going to testify.
Hi, Ms. Bedwell. How are you?
Hello.
Can you please raise your right hand, please? I'm going to do this again. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And before I start, I'm going to enter my CV and bio into record, so if I can.
Oh,
Multiple copies. Everyone can have one. So good evening, everyone. My name is Cecily Bedwell. I'm here for the Pleasance Development, and also I'm a principal at Design Collective. I've been with that firm for 27 years, over 28 years in my career as a planner. The rest of my bio is there. I've had the privilege of representing others in development processes, entitlements, as an expert witness, et cetera, and I'm a certified planner. So what I'd like to do is not go through all the nuances of the plan that we've discussed at every showing of this plan and iteration of the plan. As was mentioned, we've crafted and refined the plan moving forward, addressing comments. One thing that we've tried to stay in concert with is the MXD requirements. So I wanted to focus on those as well as some of the exhibits that, that give further information about the compliance to the MXD requirements. So first, there are various requirements that require the plan to meet the purpose of the MXD, to facilitate integrated and early development of both residential and non-residential, make sure that it's a high-quality mixed-use development in harmony with the surrounding uses, provide attractive residential neighborhoods, a mixture of detached, semi-detached dwellings, townhouses, multifamily we did take out per the comments, and make sure that there's a diversity of housing in a pedestrian-friendly environment. Also that it's safe, attractive, environmentally responsible. So we had submitted a letter that details this at length, but just to note that throughout all of this, we are following the traditional neighborhood development principles, and we submitted an exhibit that is not by us because we wanted to give you another source that outlined what the requirements of TND are, what the principles are. If you have had a chance to go through that, in every case, from compact development, mix of housing types, streets that are pedestrian friendly, connectivity, respect for adjacent uses, we have met those marks. So we find that, I'm a big proponent of TND. That's what I've spent my career doing, and that's what this plan represents. There are balanced, a variety of balanced parks and open spaces within the community. There are buffers. We've saved trees. A lot of this area is covered by cornfields, not by trees. Where there are trees, we've gone above and beyond to carve out those areas to protect them, to maintain trees and tree coverage, whether that's along the perimeter of the existing fields or the large swath on the eastern area. We, pedestrian friendly, sorry, John, I'm gonna probably.
I just want to make sure which one it follows. Is that the one?
Okay, so the exhibits, one more, yes, okay. So in terms of compatible uses, we have exhibit, I believe this is exhibit 1, yes, exhibit 1, land use. We went an extra step here and color-coded the adjacent uses to show how we are compatible with those. And beyond just the land use, we have townhouses near where there are townhouses, single family near where there are single family. Again, we are compatible with those uses. If we go to, one moment. Okay, so this is a good one to show the network of streets and also the walkability. So what you see in the dashed circles around each area, we've centered the western circle, which is a half-mile walking radius or about a 5-minute walk, on the plaza that is near the commercial. That's a large open space near the central. There are the 2 greens, the 3-acre as well as the 1-acre, as well as a variety of attached greens in other locations here. So all of that is within a 5-minute walking radius. And on the east side, you can see that the commercial is within a 5-minute walk radius. Some of the trails, I think someone said, might be steep through. We want to keep the natural topography that exists to save the trees, but we would also have trails that connect through this area that follow the grades so that folks of varying abilities could use those trails. The courts and fields were shown there. They are by others, but they are shown for the ability of the town to incorporate where the town sees fit to incorporate those spaces. Certainly parking can accompany those spaces as well. The idea is to create a walkable area within each neighborhood here. And the other piece is that the crossing at 27 will be improved, of course. It will not be as is, and the pedestrian connectivity will be across there at a signalized intersection. There's another plan, if you can flip through. Okay, so this exhibit shows the street connectivity through. One of the objectives of MXD is to connect streets through, not only Center Street, but also Century and others are connecting. Beck Drive is connecting. Where we are not able to have vehicular connections, we are also providing pedestrian and bicycle connections, such as the extension of the rail trail on the eastern side, connections through the neighborhood in various locations where we can make those connections to the rail trail to promote other modes of travel throughout this neighborhood. This is following the best practices of T&D development and what your MXD requires. Okay. This is the document, just while you have it up here, John, that we included that talks about pedestrian-oriented design, the setbacks. Having garages to the rear of lots is actually a best practice for pedestrian connectivity. Driveways interrupt sidewalks. Having them off garages, predominantly off rear alleys, helps to promote more walkability and have safe sidewalks. So all of these things, we have heard comments about people not wanting that, but the MXD ordinance is asking us to create safe, walkable streets. This is how TND creates and the fruition of the MXD ordinance within the town. So while we have tried to mitigate things, create senior to reduce the school impacts, while we have tried to reduce the traffic demand in the same way, while we have reduced multifamily, although that is something that I would object to, but we have done that in response to it. We also need to hold true to the MXD and the TND principles, and that is what we are here, by right zoning, not a conditional use zoning like Green Tree or other projects. This is by right zoning. We are compliant with the requirements of the ordinance in every way possible. We meet the open space requirement and then some. We're lower than the density. We've mixed types in housing. We've created safe, walkable streets and connectivity. And I'm happy to answer any other questions, but in brief, I think we've met the mark here and exceeded the mark in terms of meeting the requirements of this ordinance.
Council President, I'm sorry.
Any questions?
Yes, sir. I got several questions for Ms. Bedwell. First off, I'd like to say thank you for the maps and included maps. It has helped familiarize and see everything. And I'll try and go off of this one. It appears from this plan and the other things, they have been incorporated into at least this pre-concept plan, potential locations for a tunnel and bridge that would be a safer option related to a at-grade pedestrian crossing. And I get it, the fact that other things can come into play in that, but I do thank you for at least it shows that we are thinking that the plan does incorporate some potential options for that. And John, can you go back to that one, I guess, is the best one to say. And we heard earlier in a citizen comment related to particularly the west side, there was only 1 acre community space for any type of family there. But I believe she was talking regarding the potential community park and everything. But how large is that area up next to the west side of residence? It looks like it's approximately 3 acres of open space.
Yes,
we just need to decide on what the best use is for community center, fields, or anything else. So it appears that you have close to 30 years of experience on that, and I take it that 3 acres of field space and other things related to that potentially would be potentially able to handle any type of kids or anything that would be come to Mount Airy because of that on the west side, excuse me. Would that be a safe presumption to do
And-
that?
And as you've seen throughout this process, we've both showed and not showed different fields. We leave it wholly to the town.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have another inset plan that shows a rec center. We tested, I think, for a 10,000 square foot rec center. So it's up to the town to decide what the highest and best use is. But that area is being given to the town to determine the highest and best uses. But yes, it fits a multi-purpose soccer field with courts in addition to it. There are courts that could fit on the central green, and then we've showed other scaled plans for fields on the other areas.
And there's other fields that you added, I believe, after the workshop or one of the workshops, all the ones that says built by others and things of that nature. Were they in responses to comments by the town that we did not have enough field space and you were just really showing what is possible there?
Right.
Not, and as the pre-concept shows, parking and things of that, now the specifics related to those amenities don't really have to be included per se. They developed at the concept plan phase. And these are really also, I wanted the extension so we could work out the final details with the council to see what we wanted is where the location of a field space presented as optional would be preferred, but that didn't happen. So at any further later planning stages, those fields are not permanent. They are just being shown what could be, what, not what will be, and the planning commission would probably have final say or dictation on exactly what fields go where, why, and once those fields are put in place, I would say the auxiliary amenities such as parking can be placed also. Would that be correct?
So the fields are there for scaling purposes, so you all can determine what field sizes are appropriate, what you would like there. They happen to be on areas that are flatter so that we could accommodate those more readily without disrupting more of the trees, et cetera. They are in places where the trees there aren't specimen trees also, so they try to indicate the most likely locations, but again, that's to be determined by the town and in future phases.
And some of those fields, particularly on the east side, could be, I'm not saying like the smaller fields in the main central walking area, they could be adapted to easily for amenities for the senior housing living on that, because I believe the Summit Ridge Park has what I would classify currently as active adult type things related to, physical activity and stuff. So that little field could be a little park for the seniors to come, sit, work out, talk, and things of that nature too. It does not necessarily mean something of that. It could also be, in my view, designed at a later spot that it could be a little play area for if grandkids come to visit the seniors and stuff too. So the options are totally open for that.
Yes,
for what's
that's right.
developed. And thirdly, I believe on the west side, one of the comments I respect, maybe you can confirm this too, is that one of the things at the beginning of this, we need to maintain and save the trees on the hilltop around the water tower and stuff. And one, by putting a field up there on the east side at the top of the hill by the water tower, would that like kind of hinder one of the primary things that people have said that they want to preserve up there and integrate as a design element of that?
Yes, it could be a smaller field. Most of the specimen trees are again in that 5+ acre area where we've shown them. The darker trees are the specimen trees that were mapped out. So that could be a smaller field. It could be a pickleball court. I mean, again, we're just showing the opportunities that exist there.
And I believe, have I reached my limit yet, Council President? I'm still good to go. I got one more.
I'm going to be very honest. You're pushing me because this is not a place to state your thoughts and opinions.
Okay.
Let's stick to questions.
Okay, I got one more question. Okay.
And if it happens again, we're going to call a point of order and we're going to end it.
Okay, cool. Thank you, sir. I didn't mean to push. Just one design element for clarification on that. The red arrow, I noticed that right above at the bottom, it says tree save / buffer, correct? On the west side, on the east side. There's a little red arrow there. What is that?
That's showing the potential connection to the Twin Arts Shopping Center. That was another request. So, again, that would have to be accommodated by the shopping center owner, but there is a location where grades could potentially be mitigated. All that being said, as a planner, you'd be dropping down to the rear backside of the shopping center. So,
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry about testing your patience there.
All right, do we have anyone else? And when I say anyone else, I do mean anyone in the room that wishes to ask questions. Ms. Witter?
do they have to come?
Do I need to be sworn in?
Not to ask a question, but near.
Pardon?
Not to ask a question, but if you could do it close to a mic so that.
Sure. From a connectivity standpoint, you pointed out that there's the potential for a bridge, a tunnel, some sort of crossing element, connection in nature. Who's paying for that?
So we showed the bridge and the tunnel on the plan at the request of the public comments we got. Our experts on traffic engineering have talked to State Highway Administration over the years. They're advising us that the State Highway Administration does not prefer either a tunnel or a bridge, that they would prefer the latest and greatest safe pedestrian crosswalks with pedestrian activated signals at the new traffic light.
So if that's the case, you're connecting over a major state highway. How does that meet the connectivity issues of an MXD development? You're not. You're dividing it into two. It's separated, and you're asking for death and trouble. That's not a connectivity. It may be on paper, and it may be from a planning standpoint, but it's not connecting the two. I don't know how a state highway running between two parcels is connectivity. Thank you.
Again, just before we start, I know this is kind of a different process than what we normally do, and it is for me too, and I'm learning, but please, when you're up here, let's ask questions and just, not state opinions if we can, all right?
Just one
Nicole,
other,
and you go ahead and come on up.
Council President, just quite before she gets.
Not yet. Nicole Moon, it's your turn to now speak.
Thank you, Council President. I don't need to swear in or anything. Question, you mentioned the specimen trees and that you heard the citizens and you decided to save the trees. Did you speak with Carroll County Conservation regarding these trees? Were you unable to get approval to cut them down? No. Okay, so that's my question. You can answer.
That's what I was going to ask, Tim.
Yeah, I can see.
Katie, hold on.
Okay, so
To make this a little bit smoother of a process, if whoever's testifying for the planning team, if you'd like to sit next to Barney, then we don't have to go back and forth. And Ms. Moon, you can stand there and yeah.
That was my question, Council President. Thank you.
So at the pre-concept sketch plan, we have had a tree survey done. That's ahead and above and beyond what we're required to do. To my knowledge, there hasn't been a conversation with the Conservancy. It is the specimen trees that were mapped out as surveyed.
And you are unable to cut specimen trees down per the Maryland law of forest conservation, correct?
No, I don't believe that's accurate.
You have to get an approval.
I believe it's a replacement waiver, not approval. There are specimen trees that are taken down. There's just a replacement requirement if you do so at a 2-to-1 ratio.
Okay, thank you. Also, you mentioned you removed the apartments because the people requested no apartments. With the estimated water that's going to come from the property, could you say that you had to remove the apartments because you didn't have the water for the apartments?
No, that didn't have any.
But the water numbers don't.
Water, one at a time, please.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
So no, that didn't have a bearing on the capacity of the water. It was It was more the open space requirement changing mid-process, and we responded to that and reduced the number of apartments, also to respond to comments received. So it was a balance of how do we meet the new open space requirement, the discussion of the apartments not having less occupancy than a single-family home. So therefore, it made more sense from both points of view to remove the apartments, replace them with townhouses, and that was the decision.
Okay, thank you.
Council President, one question or concern here. Any more questions related to water capacity related to the property should not be asked because we do not know the official or even an estimated capacity of the water. Since this body decided not to delay it, I believe those questions would be inconsistent since we have no hard evidence on the water allotment that could be afforded to that property.
Yeah, well, I understand that. I mean, I'm not going to dictate what.
You know, I know, but I just want to point that out.
I understand. I'm not going to dictate what questions are going to be asked by the public or answered by the developer. If the developer wishes to answer any questions that even goes above and beyond the pre-concept plan, as was just done regarding the tree specimens, that is their decision to make. Mr. Kelly, please come on up.
Hi, my other question is, why is the connection of Beck Drive talked about as a certainty at this stage?
We are proposing a connection at this point. The pre-concept sketch plan requires that we show approximate or general road locations. One of the main principles of TND is to provide connectivity, as we're doing for Center Street. We did not connect Carroll Avenue because of grade concerns and other connectivity issues, but Beck Drive was always towards the best principles of TND to make that connection.
Mr. Gant.
Ralph Gant, my question is to seek clarity with regard to changes if, presuming a pre-concept plan went to the concept plan stage. At the concept plan stage and the pattern book stage, changes to any pre-concept plan may occur. An example would be county in their stormwater management evaluation may require some of the stormwater management to change, and therefore perhaps that would affect the layout of roads in certain locations as a consequence of stormwater management, as one example. So changes can occur at the concept plan and pattern book stage. So my question is with regard to specific changes relative to the field ownership and improvements on the east side. So the question is, does the concept plan and pattern book deliberation with the developer allow for taking this pre-concept plan into the developer providing those fields, providing parking lots, providing access, and if in order to do that, cause the relocation of some of the senior housing on the east side. So I'm asking if that's a bridge too far for example changes such as I enumerate, if and when it moves to the concept plan stage.
Are you directing the question to the witness or
Actually, I would value Tom's opinion on that.
It's not appropriate. The purpose now is to simply cross-examine the witness who's testified.
Okay. May I direct that question then to Ms. Bedwell? So in that deliberation, if it occurred at the concept plan, would such overtures as I mentioned, the field be developed by the developer, the access to it, the parking to it, and to make that happen, possible relocation of the senior housing adjacent to it. And maybe the relocation is in the phrase of taking those units, dwelling units, over to the east side. That would satisfy some of the previous comments with regard to moving that senior housing closer to the legacy senior amenities over here.
I would say that The process to me looks like the pre-concept sketch plan has the general locations of the roads, the lots laid out. We have met the mark on the open space. I can't talk to the process further than that of what the town would allow in terms of changes to the pre-concept sketch plan as proposed.
Okay, so I think those would be, those examples I gave would go beyond what would be reasonable change discussion.
I can't speak to that. I mean, as we understand the process, the general location of the streets, open spaces, lots are to be established by the pre-concept plan. Changes above and beyond that would be up to the town council to approve or not approve. So I don't know if that's within the realm of what is anticipated or not.
Okay, thank you.
Any further redirect for the witness? Yes, sir.
I just have one question. According to the town code, developers are only allowed to have a maximum of 24 building permits per year, 4 per month, which can be possibly increased to 6. And I think we're talking about 350 some units. Are you all willing to wait 12 to 15 years to finish this project?
Sir, if you would please just state your name and address for.
Steve Summelsberger, 213 Troon Circle.
Thank you,
Mount Airy.
sir.
Yes, we're aware of that, and we would deal with that at the proper time, which under the DRRA.
Right. Any further redirect for the witness?
Hold on,
Right.
Council President, I lost my train of thought.
All right, hearing none, we will move on. And the next phase of the process. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Bower-Stocks, I did not see your hand, I apologize.
All right. Do you want me where Cecily is, or do you want me at the podium?
Are you going to be redirecting or crossing?
I'm going to offer my own.
So you're a new witness then for the design team? Okay, hearing no more questions for Ms. Cecily, you may come up to Katie's seat. But if you would please first, we'll just stand and raise your right hand.
Yeah.
All right. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right. Good evening. As most of you know, I'm David Bower-Stocks. I am counsel for the Beck family, the owners, and I'm working with Pleasance tonight in their presentation to assist that. I want to comment initially on the original proposal about the well. I just want to make a point of clarification. The offer to wait to get the well test results was not in recognition that APFO issues are germane to what's going on tonight. Pragmatically, we've heard about it forever, and we're possibly a couple weeks away from having it. We thought we'd make the offer. And frankly, Mr. President, I welcomed your comments previously, your initial comments about the purpose of what we're doing here. This is part of the process that's spelled out in your ordinance. The pre-concept phase is, as the prior witnesses have already told you, and apparently you know, it's governed by certain regulations and code provisions that are set forth in your ordinance. So one thing I will point out that is different about this project than, for instance, Green Tree, because I know that was mentioned earlier. Green Tree is a special exception conditional use. It requires a discretionary approval of a Board of Zoning Appeals. This project does not. So your role here tonight is not the same as if you were the Board of Zoning Appeals deciding a special exception conditional use. This is more in the nature of a development review of a project, which is typically done by the Planning Commission. And you are, as you have well mentioned, required to apply the standards set forth in the ordinance and set forth in our summary to the matters in the record. I also want to make a comment. This is housekeeping. I would like to formally request that all matters that were provided, the letter from May 3rd, I believe, and the attachments, all be incorporated as part of the record, and the matters referred to in that letter about prior submissions be incorporated into the record. It's maybe overkill, but that's my role in part here tonight, just trying to make sure it's inclusive. So the regulations provide a variety of criteria that you have to make a determination on. We feel that we have provided you all of the required information and hit all the points that we're required to hit under the regulations. You'll note that the regulations basically require objective facts in connection with a pre-concept plan. It's interesting that a pre-concept plan is named a pre-concept plan. If we keep our eye on the ball, as they say, and this may help focus us in that task, a pre-concept plan, as concept, it's an idea. It's not a completely engineered project drawing. It's an idea that the applicant would like to pursue and do more critical and in-depth engineering to see if we can build this thing according to your code and your standards. That's what it's about. You're not approving a final subdivision. The information that we have provided at this point, Cecily has amplified some of it tonight. It's in the letter, has all been uncontroverted. Now, why is that? Because it's pre-concept. You don't have APFOs. You don't have the architecturals. You don't have all of the stuff that we're asking your approval so we can begin preparing and submitting to you. So we can all get a better understanding of ultimately what this is going to become. You're not losing control of a project. We're just starting the next step in the review process. There's been some comments, there's been discussion tonight about the evolution of the plan as a result of various input at formal and informal settings. And I think what you've heard tonight is no matter what changes are made, somebody's not going to like it. And you know what? That'll always be the case. You're not going to have a plan that everyone universally embraces, and that's okay. But that's not the standard in your regulations. It's a great aspiration, perfection, but that's not the requirement under your code to approve a pre-concept plan to dig into the other details that we have to see to find out, does this work and under what circumstances. So the standard is not for the applicant to submit a plan for everybody's Shangri-La at pre-concept. That'll never happen. What we have to do is demonstrate that we have met the elements that are set forth in your code. We believe we've done that. We believe the information that's been presented, first of all, it is objective. It's based on factual findings, best practices in the industry. Ms. Bedwell told you about some of those. It's very well summarized in her materials.
One thing she did mention is the connection of a mixed-use type district with traditional neighborhood design. There's a real relationship and synthesis between those two ideas. So at this point, we're asking you to approve the pre-concept plan and allow the applicant to move forward and give you the adequate public facilities information that I know you all want and some of the audience wants. The reality of pursuing a project like this is that it would be foolish to expend the resources going to that level of analysis until we have an idea that there is something to analyze at the end of the day. That's what we're trying to say. Some of the comments, again, and I understand this, if I didn't do what I do, I'd probably be making the same comments. Some of the comments we've been hearing, again, have to do with subjectivity, architectural considerations, some of those perhaps. Let us put a pattern book together. Some of them have to do with traffic safety. Some schools came on. But let us explore that along with the well and present that information to you. We don't know how the conclusions are based because the information we have at our disposal suggests that some of those are different conclusions. So at the appropriate time, we would like to have the APFO test done and submit. That's all I have tonight. I appreciate the council's patience through this. This has been a collaborative, if not collaborative, a cooperative effort on everybody's part. And we're asking to be able to continue that in the next phase.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions?
I do have a question, but not for Mr. Bowersox. I would like to ask Ms. Bedwell a question. Mr. Bowersox jogged my memory of that question. I couldn't remember if that's allowable.
Yeah, we'll first see, since he's...
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to get up there.
For Mr. Bowersox.
That's about the only jogging I do anymore.
Mr. Swanson, come on up, please. If you would just please say your name and address, not that we all don't know exactly who you are.
Dick Swanson, 1107 South Main Street. You mentioned certain documents you want entered into evidence. As a lawyer, in your opinion, are those releasable to the public?
I think it's my understanding that the documents we wanted incorporated in the record may already be available to the public.
Okay.
I don't know of anything that's not. It's the most accurate way for me to answer that.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Ms. Moon?
Mr. Bowersox?
Good evening.
Good evening. If the pre-concept plan is approved, does that lock in the number of units unless the APFO says otherwise?
Does it lock in units? It locks in the units that we can design the concept plan around.
So unless the APFO says, no, we can't handle that amount, that number of units will be locked in.
Then you won't know that until the pre-concept's approved and we get to that stage.
Okay. Also, if the pre-concept plan is approved and we need major changes, say the senior living goes on, we need it on west and not east, and we flip things, is that able to happen at the concept stage, or are we locked in with this general plan, the way it's laid out? Not the little details, just like the overall.
I think, and you'll forgive me, I'm often accused of not being very intuitive, but I think that's going to depend on what those circumstances may be as they develop in the future. So I can't answer that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Bowersox? All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And I believe Carl has one more question for Ms. Bedwell. Thank you very much for.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bedwell, for coming back up again. We've heard several times from one, I believe maybe a couple of members here and the sitting council member that this, the best way to put it, lacks the panache of an award-winning design. And my question or concern is, one thing I need to clarify with myself is what exactly is an award-winning design, first off. Second, how many types of awards out there are there, and the types, and could this have the qualifications to be applied for an award, winning award? And thirdly, how will we know if this is an award-winning design until it's applied for and you win one? So I'll try and repeat that a little bit if you need to. Thank you.
I think I can do. So I'm not going to say that I know every award that this could be submitted for, but what comes to mind, there are several that could be applied for, some of which are other developments, Maple Lawn, Greenlee, and others have won awards for. And those would be the National Home Builders, the Maryland chapter, et cetera. Those have won on the merit of traditional neighborhood design and mixed-use development, exactly what the ordinance calls for and exactly what is presented in that paper. That is a secondary source, not our own, but a secondary source that talks about the best practices and principles of TND. So certainly, if you read through that and look at the plan and understand some of the descriptions and the adherence to those principles, I would say yes, it meets all of those categories of what makes a successful TND project. Traditional neighborhood development is a response to singular use subdivisions of, say, the 1980s that separated uses, that had wide streets, that increased travel movements, did not have pedestrian connections. So all of those things is what the traditional neighborhood, meaning what founded Mount Airy. Mount Airy was based on traditional neighborhood design principles, is what we are going back to for the MXD zoning. That's what was written into your own ordinance. So I would say yes. I don't know the exact number of awards that might be applicable, but I can say that yes, not only have we won awards applying those principles in other communities, this certainly adheres to those.
Just one more, just the traditional neighborhood design, the TND, if I'm getting the acronyms right. How long has that design principle been around? It sounds like it's not something new, but it might be around for a while.
Right. Splitting hairs here, but around 40 plus years, the idea, not to go through the whole history of neighborhood planning in the United States, but I mean, we, up through the 20s, 40s, we were still planning based on traditional neighborhood development. A couple things changed with post-World War II and the automobile resurgence or growth. There were a lot of things that promoted the vehicle over pedestrians. People were moving; they're embracing, that the vehicle could solve all problems. We embraced it wholeheartedly, and almost we had some unintended consequences. And so some of those were, not walkable. Kids couldn't walk to schools; they were bused. We didn't have mixed uses. We wanted to segregate uses because there were some bad things, factories next to homes. That wasn't good. We swung the pendulum too far in the other direction and segregated all uses. Whereas we know light industrial, residential, commercial, certainly can be within proximity of homes. Schools would be great if kids could walk to school. It would solve a lot of our obesity and problems that we have in the United States. So there was a swinging back of the pendulum to self-correct and to look at how we can create neighborhoods that take the best of what we found previously and reinstall some of those principles to create neighborhoods that were safe, walkable, mixed use, not homogeneous, but had a variety of housing for a variety of individuals.
Thank you.
Just one question, if that's okay. The two neighborhoods that you mentioned, I think it was Maple Lawn and there was one other one?
Greenlee?
Okay, just a yes or no, since we can hurry this along. Do either of those, and you said they did win awards?
Yes.
That you know of? Do either of them have a major state highway going right through the middle of them that you know of?
So Greenlee has Maryland Route 43.
Okay.
And Maple Lawn has 216, although it's on the edge, and on the northern side is Johns Hopkins.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, I'll just add that state highway, I mean, there are probably other examples other than the ones that I've worked on. Seaside, which was one of the first of the firm that I previously worked for, Dwani Plater Zyberg down in Seaside, Florida, has a state highway that goes right through the middle of it. The issue is to control the traffic at a signalized crossing so that there can be safe crossings. I don't think anyone can argue against the fact that if people tried to run across 27 from the extension of Center Street, it would not be a good scenario. That's not what we're advocating for. That's not what our traffic expert or the Maryland State Highway would approve. So
Okay,
more
thank
on
you.
that at the concept level.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Quick follow-up to your question. Do any of those communities that do cross a highway, do they have a bridge or a tunnel or anything connecting both sides?
Not the ones that I mentioned, no. I will say best practices currently are that unless there's like a large transit where you're going on a raised rail track and you have an easy way for pedestrians to cross at that higher level grade, the best practices are not to make the pedestrians go up and over or under through a tunnel. Those aren't perceived as safe, and it's also a longer route typically, so we'd rather have cars stop, allow for safe pedestrian crossings at grade, and allow pedestrians and cyclists to have the opportunity to be able to safely cross at grade rather than going a quarter mile underground or up and over. It's just not suitable for most pedestrians or cyclists.
Any further questions? Mr. Gant?
Could I direct two more questions to Mr. Bowersox quickly, or is that possible?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you, Ms. Bidwell.
Ralph Kent, town resident of Nottingham. Thank you, Mr. Bowersox, for another sit at the mic. And I'll be concise. In the options before the council, I'll speak to two options that could evolve from motions tonight. One of them is disapproval. And in such a ruling, then I'm sure that you and your colleagues would have heard, I believe there are three fundamental issues that could possibly drive that motion. The crossing comes as pretty much number one. The ball fields and the developer's obligations to develop them, and likely a third being maybe a better distribution of the senior housing more on the east side near our legacy senior-aged amenities. So it's possible, and I'm speaking as Ralph Gant here, that disapproval could rest upon those three elements. On the other hand, another option is a conditional approval where those three rather majority opinions on necessary changes could form into three conditions and possibly others in a conditional approval. And I would invite the attorney to check me if I'm going into an area where it doesn't exist, but I believe a conditional approval with something like those three necessary changes. If that were the decision tonight, and then you were faced with taking this and then the approval hinging upon you making those three specific area or any other conditional improvements on a subsequent pre-concept plan, I would ask, with very little study, what would be your opinion of such a ruling and necessary revisions?
Well, to be direct, that would not be for me to decide. That would be for the parties, the applicant and the property owners to decide. I would give them whatever counsel I could. The one thing I will point out is, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the ordinance says approve or disapprove. I don't see anything in the code that provides for a conditional approval. If I'm mistaken, I'm sorry. But best in my recollection, there isn't any such thing. There's some of your question had to do with particular conditions, some of which I am not going to address. You're very fortunate to have Mr. McCarron as a town attorney. They implicate some matters, legal questions with regard to conditioning approvals upon certain developer or owner dedications or other matters that I'd rather not weigh in on.
Understood. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Gann. To the design team, do you have anyone else that you would like to testify?
Just one note on that to state, none of those are criteria that are in the MXD ordinance. The crossing of Maryland 27 and how that occurs is not in the ordinance. The ball fields being built by the developer is not in the ordinance. Neither is the distribution of senior housing.
All right, thank you. Any other cross-examination? Now what?
Is the developer done with their presentation, their case?
I believe that concludes it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we didn't do.
Ask if anybody else wants to present.
Does anyone else here wish to present testimony on their own?
Or submit something for the record.
All right, or submit something for the record. All right, hearing none, if it's okay with everyone, can we take a 5-minute quick break just to stand up? Do I need a motion for that? All right. I don't care who approves. We're going to take a 5-minute quick. We're going to take a 5-minute quick break. So right at exactly 9:30, we will presume. Thank you very much. We will resume once Town Clerk Holly McCleary returns.
It's being nice.
Right. All right. All right. Is CMC back online?
CMC, can you please pan camera when you're ready? When you're ready.
All right, we're good.
There we go.
All right, we will now re-begin the agenda or the meeting. I want to thank everybody for the quick 5-minute recess. So where we are at right now in our agenda, the design team for the Beck property, or Pleasance and Design Collective, have been able to testify. The public has been able to cross-examine as well as anybody here. We've gone through that process. We are now at the portion where the council will approve or deny the pre-concept plan. With that being said, this will now fall back into the normal type of sequence, with the exception that I am not going to open up discussion. I am going to specifically call on a council member, and they are going to give their, whatever it may be, whether it's a presentation or their thoughts and ideas on how they see this going. So time-wise, I would say please hold it 7, maximum of 10 minutes. And I promise you it will be a hard cutoff at 10 minutes. All right, so with that being said, we will, obviously need a motion and a second to get to the discussion portion of that. So with the interest of Robert's rules, I will make a motion to deny the Mount Airy Crossing or Beck Property Pre-Concept Plan. Do we have a second?
I would like to second that motion.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Now we will begin the discussion portion of it.
Sorry, Dan, what was the motion again, to approve or deny, or?
No, the motion was to deny.
To deny, okay.
It's been seconded, so.
Okay,
so what we'll do now is, kind of like a roll call, I will call on Councilman Munder.
Okay,
If you'd like to go first. And this is now your opportunity to state your reasoning for, against. Right?
Yeah, no, the motion was jumbled a little bit, so no problem.
Thank you, sir.
All right, no problem. Thank you, sir. In interest of time, this will be a speedier than normal presentation, but Lynn, look at the top thing. You can tell Katie that you will never forget that honor code that you have to write on every test and everything. So that's that. Okay, John, next one. There are 3 types of decisions town officials need to make: legislative, quasi-judicial, and quasi-administrative. The action we are doing tonight, I view as a combination of quasi-judicial and a quasi-administrative. Judicial because of the type of hearing we just held, administrative because we are required to give a denial or approval as something that was established under town code. Both of those actions unfortunately restrict what I can consider for making my determination. This means that I need to apply decisions for individuals based on town code and law. This goes along with the part of the oath I took before I sat in this chair to uphold the laws of the town of Mount Airy. This means that any decision I make will be using a standard of arbitrary and capricious. Basically, the decision that I make needs to be based on fact, and I cannot just guess because I have the authority or unlimited power to go what I believe in. It needs to be based on fact and town code. So therefore, my decision tonight will be based on the applicable town code that this pre-concept plan falls under. Next, John. Thank you. The sections of town code that we've heard is basically sections 98-61B and D and 11237.2 A and B. Essentially, section 98-61B refers to what is required to be included into the pre-concept plan, and generally they pass that because everything that they needed to include is there. And I just want to make a note that 11237.2H allows for 7 units an acre. Developer is proposing 3.8. APFO requires developer a minimum of 3 acres per 100. They're barely meeting that at 3.9, but they do pass that test in my view. Population for plan is calculated on 2.75 residents a unit, regardless of the unit type. Next one, John. Okay, purpose. This is just section 9861, basically refers to what we as elected officials apply to the review as a review standard for the mixed-use development as outlined in 11237.2. It's basically we are only allowed to apply the purpose and objectives found in 11237.2, nothing else in town code. Basically, the paragraph below summarizes what the 112 section says. The items that are in bold and italic is what I base my findings on for the purpose. Next, John, thank you. The 12 is basically, this is just reiterating the bigger, what section 112-37.2B, the objective side of it. Again, what is italic and in bold is what I based on, and to point out too, both sections of this 112.37.2 are highly subjective and open to individual interpretation. Okay, John, the purpose, the next slide will basically just state or show the purpose at the first paragraph. Then I will continue on of integrated and orderly, the things I did. Judge on integrated and orderly, the definition of that is combining or coordinating separate elements so as to provide a harmonious, interrelated whole and arranged or disposed of in a neat, tidy manner or regular sequence. To me, the plan does meet that as showed. The plan brings together various elements and features that are where they are, didn't spell that right, where they are supposed to be in a plan of this type. Residential housing next to existing residential housing and commercial close to highways. Harmony with surrounding land uses, which basically means a consistent, orderly, or pleasing arrangement of parts congruity. Yes, it does make that. Again, there's difference opinion of the lot sizes and overall housing and styles don't match up, but the plan basically puts where it belongs, single family next to single family, townhomes and single family. And also, if you look at the town as a whole, this type of things are throughout the town, this design. And also housing diversity, mixture of housing types and styles. Yes, the plan does include all the various allowed housing types. Continuing on, pedestrian-friendly environment, yes. The documents that have submitted by the development team indicate a safe street design principle that reduces the interaction of pedestrians and traffic on the streets. Located within each section of the proposal, the design includes sidewalks and trails allowing for walking opportunities throughout the community. Is it safe, attractive, and environmentally responsible manner? Yes, provided from the view that we have at the pre-concept plan. It appears to be safe due to the fact that there are no real blind spots in the residential areas. So safe on that nature. Commercial components are placed together so that can enhance security and ease of patrols by law enforcement. Again, the pre-concept plan does not allow us to really make sure this is attractive or not. The details of that, the architectural styles, colors will be determined at the concept plan and the pattern book. It does appear the plan uses BMTs for environmental site design at this stage. Further enhancements related to reduction of heat island effect, light pollution, etc., should and will be looked at and hopefully addressed by the Planning Commission later. The objective side, the 11237B is the objectives. This is just basically shows what the objectives themselves are and why I may or may not do that. Number one, without a comparison plan of the conventional zoning versus what is here, it's kind of hard to decide that. I take that as does not apply. Encourage harmonious and coordinated and is consistent with existing natural features and compatibility with surrounding uses. Please see the responses in the previous slides, but yes, it does meet that in my view. Encourage development that is of excellent design and architecture with a mix of uses that will create synergy, efficiency of design, and increase in walkability. Yes, the plan combines both residential and commercial functions that are well placed, which will limit unintended interactions between the residential and commercial within the community. Design features does allow for an increase in walkability by allowing the development to be traveled, crossed, or covered by walking. Create a mix, number 4, yes, it does create a mixture of everything. Cohesive community really applies to this design only. It's kind of hard to decide how it integrates into the whole community. Yes, it does. The placement of the various elements in the design indicates that the development will be cohesive when completed and it flows well. See responses from the previous ones related to neighborhoods and natural environment. Of course, supports diversified housing options with an integrated site design of varying land uses. Yes, it does allow for diversified housing to be built and bought and live in there. Encourage development to promote artistic and other cultural areas in there. Yes, the plan does have areas instituted that can be co-used for items listed in this category or number 6. Basically, the next slide is just the definitions I used in reasoning with this. As you notice, most of them were taken from a 1996 Webster dictionary. And to just continue on, these are some of the general concerns that I have heard from the public, so I do take that into it, but general concerns, small lot sizes, road widths, driveway lengths, et cetera. For the most part, the planning commission will decide that the bulk requirements, which all these are listed in 11237.2L, and they are required to be similar to existing communities within town. The next one.
1 minute, just.
1 minute, okay, I'll try. I mean, most of it is APFO, so I don't mind. Schools in general, this does impact schools. I'm not taking that into, I am taking that into consideration, but no matter what, development inside or outside of the town will impact the school. And unfortunately, at this stage, APFO does not apply, but this town does use the county-provided numbers. The water and sewer capacity, basically, we keep hearing the development is required to bring water to town. We are working on the anticipated. We have a minimum of 75,000 gallons before we accept a well. It will be tested, and the state of Maryland determines the well yield. Traffic on 27 and crossing, I'm saying the reality is that development does impact traffic. Is it at grade the best? Maybe not, but as it was indicated, it's not required by law. I'm not dismissing the fact of the traffic safety of crossing, but MDOT has final say. We can ask them and see, and I'm good. The rest was just APFO, and I trust the planning commission to do what is right.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, I was trying to rush it through because I know it's a hard cutoff, and I got through the importance and what was my determination for my vote will later be.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to Councilmember Demoter.
All right, thank you.
And just to confirm, you would like a 2-minute heads
Yes,
up?
if you could just give me a 2-minute heads
Okay,
up.
will do.
So I can go from there. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to give oral comments tonight for the record, but in addition, I prepared a policy opinion memorandum, which lays out in great detail the specifications of the code and references to rationale for my position. So I would like this memo to be made part of the record, and I will provide this to our town clerk. I do not believe that the pre-concept sketch plan for Mount Airy Crossing sufficiently achieves the purpose, objectives, and related considerations for mixed-use development as specified by the Town of Mount Airy Code. The purpose of mixed-use development is not simply to afford the co-location of differing housing types and commercial space within a development. Rather, it is to apply and take advantage of the flexibility afforded by Mount Airy's code, objectives, and provisions to deliver a cohesive community with a harmonious mix of uses that, quote, will create synergy, efficiency of design, and an increase in walkability, resulting in a sense of place where residents can live, work, and play. While the current pre-concept sketch plan may check some technical boxes of the code, it fails to sufficiently deliver the true flavor of mixed-use development. Furthermore, for context, in describing the then-new proposed mixed-use zoning category, the town's 2013 Comprehensive Master Plan stated that, quote, "The intent of implementing a mixed-use zoning classification is to incorporate the general characteristics of existing historic centers into new development. It is not clear that this intended vision for mixed-use zoning has been fully realized in this plan." I do want to make a note that the purpose and the objective statements that we are asked to evaluate this plan against are very qualitative in nature. I want to get to some specifics now, specifically Mount Airy Route 27 and Center Street. So let's be clear about this. The Pleasance Development Team has chosen to develop the Beck property, which has Maryland Route 27, a major high-volume transportation artery, estimated at up to 24,000 vehicles per day as of 2016, and that's 2016, running right down the middle of the property, east from west. Route 27 in the area of Mount Airy Crossing is characterized by a number of vehicle crashes, with the highest number at the intersections of Park and Twin Arts Road, and intersections with marginal level of service ratings. Regarding traditional intersections, traffic light timings are typically set according to the average walking speed of a person without physical disabilities and under the age 65, creating potentially dangerous situations for older pedestrians and people with disabilities. Other factors that worsen pedestrian safety, especially for seniors, include long crossing distances, locations near commercial zones, speed limits are greater than 30 miles per hour, and right on red turns allowed. All scenarios that match the condition of Route 27 in the area of this development. In 2024, Carroll County government identified and prioritized the need for dualization of Maryland Route 27. This is likely going to occur over the next 10 to 15 years, which is the build-out period for this development. So that's going to take Route 27 from 4 lanes up to 6 to 8 lanes. In any developer's plans for Route 27 and Center Street, intersection improvements as part of making it signalized from a safety perspective, a traditional pedestrian signal and crosswalk technology approach will not suffice. My first responsibility as an elected official is to provide for the safety and security of my constituents. I cannot envision a parent being comfortable with their child's safety by pushing a button to then cross 6 to 8 lanes of traffic at a traditional pedestrian signal crosswalk, nor can I envision seniors with disabilities or people over 65 being comfortable with doing the same. It is not consistent with Town Code Section 11237.2 that states the MXD district is intended to provide flexibility to design residential neighborhoods in a safe, attractive, and environmentally responsible manner. Absent any modifications by the developer has essentially created 2 separate standalone disconnected developments. As such, the developer should plan for and contribute to a pedestrian tunnel as a viable solution to make this development plan workable. This is your development. You are responsible providing a safe development that meets the code. Pedestrian tunnels do improve safety, access, and connectivity to a community. There are numerous references that reinforce this. I can't get into all of that tonight. Tunnels also evoke an emotional response from users due to enhanced security and aesthetic appeal. Well-designed underground walkways can serve as art installations or feature decorative elements that add beauty to the development landscape. The tunnel would also afford a safe connection for the town's rails to trails pedestrian recreational amenity, which is strategically important for current and future economic vitality of the town. An escrow account for funding these improvements could be established by the developer with assistance from MDOT guidance and protocols. And I do want to make a comment in response to one of the developers' members' comments. We have had informal conversations with MDOT District 7. We asked for informal consultation about this development plan. And they told us that while certainly bridges are a little bit more challenging, that tunnels are perfectly acceptable and have been used in Maryland, and this is the appropriate time to pursue those kinds of improvements at this development phase. And they provided informal consultation on this fact. So it is doable, and this is the time for us to be asking for it. Sir, how much time do I have?
You're two and a half.
Two?
2.5 minutes.
Okay. All right, I have many more comments. Overall design, Mount Airy Crossing is characterized by a noticeably low percentage, around 25% of single-family detached units or senior detached units, and a predominantly high percentage, 75%, of attached units and senior villas, which are classified as attached units. This does not fully achieve the purpose and objectives of our town code. Single-family attached units are viewed by the town citizens as high-density housing. This is supported by both the 2020 and 2007 town community surveys, where citizens in both surveys consistently indicated their strong sentiment for limiting residential growth, particularly for high-density housing. I think you need more single-family housing on preferably 1/4 to half-acre lots to make this development acceptable to the community. I do want to say that because these requirements are very qualitative, I looked out at other towns for other standards, and applying a model mixed-use ordinance from another municipality as an independent benchmark, using their housing density and mix requirements, this development would not meet their standards, and I have that calculation. A number of comments on the west side. Here's one of the key things. When we first envisioned mixed use for connection of Center Street, the whole idea was to take the look and feel and functionality of Main Street and mimic that onto Center Street. We wanted to connect the whole downtown feel. This plan does not do this. This plan does not present any vertical mixed-use housing where you have offices or residential units on the top and commercial on the bottom. That's what our Main Street looks like. That's what we're trying to accomplish. The east side, I'll just jump to some quick points. The current design does not offer a large centralized open space green for recreation and public gatherings. There are no specifically identified amenities tailored to seniors, which seems kind of important in an all-seniors community. It doesn't support multi-generational livability. I've talked to a lot of seniors that would like to be able to have a house where they could have their children and grandparents live with them so they could all take care of each other or live in the immediate neighborhood. The all seniors restricted approach on the east side does not allow for this and is at odds with the town code objectives.
Councilmember Demoter, that's 10.
Okay. I have many other comments. They're in my policy memorandum. I will provide those to the council members. I have extra copies if citizens would like a copy of that. This plan is unacceptable from a safety standpoint, and it's not what's best for Mount Airy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hang on one second. Hang on one second. All right, Council Secretary Galletti.
Thank you. As the public can see, and I think it's pretty clear to everybody that we've all done our research, we've all spoken to staff, we've spoken to various experts, we've spoken to the developer, we've listened to the citizens. What's interesting to me is I don't think in the history of this town this has happened before because, correct me if I'm wrong, MXD gave us the unique opportunity to have our input into a plan. In the past, it always just went right to Planning Commission. So the purpose of the pre-concept plan was to let us have what we've had for the last year and a half, as Carl said, several years of discussion with the previous developer to get that input. So this unique opportunity gave us the opportunity to look at the wants and needs with regard to a potential new development where when I moved here, I'm gonna say it again, Twin Ridge, Village Gate, Summit Ridge, Nottingham, Sterling Glen, y'all didn't live here. And this opportunity wasn't provided to me as a citizen and everyone else who said they've been here since I moved here in '90. So for years you were here, we didn't have this input. So I'm appreciative and thankful that we have this now to be able to have all this input. What is my understanding is whether we vote yes or no, if the council votes yes on this pre-concept plan, that's not the done deal, people. That is the beginning stage. That doesn't mean a shovel goes in the ground, as I've learned from my traffic circle. Nothing goes fast. But that is not the done deal. So there's many more stages this development would have to go through before that shovel ever hit the ground in many years, whether they're prepared for it or planned for it. Clearly they are, or they wouldn't be here. So I'm not even going to ask them that. But we're tasked with tonight looking at, did they meet everything they had to meet in the code as put forth in MXD, these 3 sections of our code as per MXD. So what I want to touch on real quickly, and I'm going to, Councilman Munder, steal from some stuff you didn't get to, because it kind of is what I was trying to say in my notes, but you said it a little better. But it basically means, per our code, and that's what we have to look at, whether we like it, whether we don't like it, and none of us will say that we don't want safety. We all have raised children and are raising children in this town. We all want safety, clearly. But we have to look at what the law says and what the code says tonight. So there's the next steps, which is the concept plan, correct me if I miss one, the pattern book, and then APFO certifications. None of that is for us to look at here, correct? So that's in the hands of the Planning Commission and the town staff in the next stages. The town engineer, the zoning administrator, everybody, to refine the pre-concept into actual construction plans, architectural elevations, street design, landscaping, screening, curb cutouts, and I could go on forever, but that comes in the next stages. This, if I'm not mistaken, is the template for areas where we can possibly put things. Like, I had a million questions about those ball fields, because I'm always going to ask about those ball fields. But that's going to come in the later stages. If Mr. Gant is still here, if they look at that and they're putting out a ball field that I just saw in a wooded area with no parking, I trust that they're going to go, party foul, we don't want a ball field in the woods that we can't get to. So a lot of the questions that people have asked me in the public will be addressed at future stages with our Planning Commission. So I just want to point out, they're doing all that right now, our Planning Commission, with respect to Green Tree. The Planning Commission is working with staff to ensure Green Tree concept plan will meet our code, which is what we're talking about tonight, conform to the town's design guidelines, meet the county and state regulations, and is in harmony with its surrounding community, i.e. Candace area and North Main Street area. There is a 7-area APFO analysis that must occur, and if any of those areas are deemed inadequate, which is what I hear a lot of with the public comments for the last couple of years, or approaching inadequate, will prevent the zoning administrator from issuing any permits. And the chair of the Planning Commission has stated, he can stand up and correct me if I'm wrong, he has stated that he will not sign off on any APFO certifications unless he's 100% sure they're accurate. So we do have the safety measures in place to ensure we get what everybody wants and we get everything that we are entitled to, or we don't. We don't get more housing, everything, I'm not getting the details, but we do have those safety things in line. So one thing I want to grab from Councilman Munder, I have faith and trust in the current members of the Planning Commission to complete the final stages of the approval process and develop a concept plan that fits within the town. And I started to write this, but he wrote it better. I trust the mayor and the appointments he brings forth to this council for our approval to be people of honor and will do what the law requires of them during their duties as commission members. By voting in favor, this body, of these appointments brought forth by our mayor, we have said that we too trust the mayor's choices and the people themselves to faithfully execute their responsibilities as commission members. So by passing this on, if this is approved, this pre-concept, we're saying we do trust these Planning Commission members to do what they are supposed to do. So bottom line, it's not a done deal. It does not mean building will start. The planning commissioners and town staff must ensure everything is per code and the project will be an optimal design, or they won't let it move forward. So in my opinion, listening to everybody tonight in the last couple years, they have met all the code requirements for a pre-concept plan, which is what we're talking about tonight. We're not talking about whether we like the housing, whether we like apartments, whether we want more ball fields, whether we want a tunnel, whether we want a bridge. Those are all things that are our wants, and they are very important. But we're looking at, did they meet these 3 sections of the code for this pre-concept plan? And that's it. I think I've taken enough from Councilman Munder, because you did state it better than I was planning to do it. But basically, this is pre-concept. This is us having the unique opportunity to present and we've listened to the residents, they've listened to the residents. That's very important, but the question tonight is a question of, have they met these code sections? And that's what we're here to vote on tonight, not whether we like their designs, whether we like where they've placed things. That will all come up and that will happen. And I have 100% confidence, and I'm hoping the rest of my fellow council members do, in our planning commission or our planning commission chairperson, that they will make sure these things are done properly and correctly.
All right, thank you, Council Secretary. Next, we will have Councilmember Evans. And
Thank you,
are
Council President.
On the clock.
It won't take that long. So when I look in the code, I see three words that kind of stand out to me in regards to MXD. I'll start with the first one, harmonious. In my opinion, I think the harmony of this development is fractured by Route 27 going right down the middle of it. I don't think that the two developments, the two parcels on either side of 27 match. I feel like the seniors should be on the east or the west side where all the other seniors in the town are. Easier access to Main Street, easy walkability. And I don't think the harmony is there for this development. Second word is safe. I'm going to kind of regurgitate what everybody else has been saying here. It's not safe to cross 27. It's a 50-mile-an-hour road. Pedestrian and cycling deaths are up every year in the state of Maryland as well as Carroll County. And it's exponentially higher in areas where the speed limit is 40 miles an hour or greater. The third word is pedestrian-oriented. I think we lose the pedestrian-oriented status there when we have to walk across. We have to have our seniors walk across 27 to get to Main Street when we can have them on the west side of the parcel. I just don't think it works. They can't get to the shopping center at Twin Arch. That's an estimated little passageway that they're going to end up, like Ms. Bedwell said, in the back of the building. That would be the easiest access to make that more harmonious and more walkable, to give them access to that. And we have all the ball fields, or most of the ball fields, on the east side with all of the seniors. That's, the 55 plus or the 62 plus communities. Unless their grandchildren come over, they're not going to be utilizing that. And, they're going to walk to the other side. So you have this side walking to this side and this side walking to this side. And it's just, in my opinion, it eliminates the pedestrian-oriented aspect of the MXD. Master plan, in a few different areas, this plan is not compatible with our master plan. I know we're going through some changes and everything, but I'm sure that those things are still in the master plan. It will be for review, and as we get down the road a little bit more, we'll be able to access that and use that as our input. Traffic study on Route 27. This traffic study, not the APFO assessment by you guys, indicates Twin Arch is a failing intersection now and in the previous, when this was done in 2017. We're currently number 5 out of 5 on Maryland's priority list to fix or widen 27. And that doesn't give me any hope at all that that's going to be fixed with this development. Putting a light right there at Center Street, it slows traffic, but I can only picture my grandmother trying to walk across 27 to get to Main Street as tractor trailers are slamming on their brakes trying to come down the hill to stop at a yellow light or a red light. So my 3 issues with this, per the code and the wording in the code, is harmonious, safe, and pedestrian-oriented. I feel like all of these qualities we're falling short on. Quantitatively, you're meeting the code, but qualitatively, I don't think you're meeting the code. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. I think I'm the last one, right? All right. So thank you to Pleasance Design Collective and your entire team for your efforts over the last few years. I understand that at the end of the day, this is not personal for you. This is your career, and I appreciate your time and continued dedication. That being said, I was elected by the citizens of this town to make the best decisions possible for our community, to represent what our residents' wants, needs, and wishes are for the betterment of Mount Airy's future. For the citizens, it is personal. Mount Airy is the town that we chose to invest our future in. Many of us chose to buy a home, get married, and raise a family here. The fact is, the plan for the Beck property does not satisfy the qualitative requirements of the MXD zone. The town of Mount Airy's current and future citizens deserve a plan that not only complies with the code, but also preserves the overall landscape of our town. Mount Airy deserves a plan that can be executed safely and will not disrupt our chosen way of life. Our citizens deserve better, and I will do my part to ensure that we do not settle for less than what we deserve. The purpose of MXD is to facilitate an integrated and orderly development of residential uses and non-residential uses where high-quality mixed-use developments can occur in harmony with surrounding land uses. Throughout this process, Pleasance has referred to the Beck property as east and west, as if it were two separate properties. It is essential to remember that this property is one, the Beck property. This means that it is the burden of the Pleasance team to not only connect the two in a safe manner, but meaningfully integrate them in a way that makes sense to the layout of the town and complies with the MXD code. Currently, the proposed plan has the commercial component completely separated from all residential components throughout the property. There is no integration. There is a commercial side and a residential side within the property. An essential part of the MXD code is promoting housing diversity in a pedestrian-friendly environment. This development plan for the Beck property falls short of fulfilling that requirement. When evaluating the overall layout, not only does this plan not integrate residential and commercial properties, it will not make a pedestrian-friendly environment for its future residents. Building senior housing on the east side of the property makes accessing the existing senior-friendly amenities almost impossible as a pedestrian. Additionally, the west side would consist of single-family homes, forcing families with potential small children to cross State Highway 27 to access the open space and the potential town-funded recreational fields. In the plan, the developer would provide a crosswalk at State Highway 27 and Center Street. This is a fundamental failure in providing a safe, pedestrian-friendly environment. The website, zerodeathsmaryland.gov states, every crash is preventable and every life counts. Well, let's look at the facts. In Maryland alone, over the last 5 years, there was an average of 2,794 car accidents where pedestrians were involved. Of those accidents, 1 in 4 pedestrians lost their lives. This means that over the last 5 years in just Maryland, an average of 175 pedestrians have been killed, and 44% of those deaths were adults ages 50 and over. Furthermore, if a pedestrian is hit by a vehicle going more than 40 miles per hour, they have a less than 20% chance of survival. As we are all aware, the posted speed limit at that stretch of State Highway 27 is 50 miles per hour. In 2020, there were 3,537 traffic fatalities that involved signalized crosswalks. Over half of those fatalities were due to negligent drivers running red lights, which would prove disastrous for our community where a heavy pedestrian environment clashed with a 50-mile-per-hour highway. The plan for the proposed development would designate an intersection at State Highway 27 and Center Street, which would only consist of a at-grade or street-level crosswalk. Pleasance would like you to assume this plan adheres to its pedestrian-friendly requirement, as stated in the MXD code. According to the Carroll County Transportation Master Plan, that the intersection located at Twin Arch Road and State Highway 27 is currently operating at an at-grade D status with further predictions of becoming a grade F even without further development. This is the worst intersection in Mount Airy due to the overwhelming traffic burden as well as the frequent motor vehicle accidents. Now, we are looking at potentially adding another intersection similar to the one operating at an unacceptable status, but with the highest level of pedestrian exposure. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, more than 60,000 people have been injured or killed in pedestrian-involved motor vehicle accidents since 2009. On a daily basis, we are all pedestrians, whether we are walking our dogs, getting the mail, crossing Main Street to go to our favorite local establishments, or when we let our kids ride their bikes down the street. Fact of the matter is, just one death due to poor planning is too much for Mount Airy. With that being said, due to the current proposed plan not meeting the code requirements set forth in 112-37.2A, 112-37.2B subsets 1, 2, and 3, I have no choice but to deny this proposal. I would like to make something very clear and ensure it is on the record. Pleasance requested in writing on March 28, 2024, for this decision to be made during the April 1st Town Council meeting. While that request was unable to be met, their letter put forth the reasonable conclusion that the design team would no longer be willing to collaborate with the town. You are asking for a decision on the current plan in April's meeting. While that request was unable to be, like I said, sorry, I lost my spot. But currently, this plan still falls short. The best possible outcome for our community would consist of a true MXD layout as it pertains to the quantitative and qualitative requirements of the code, which includes meaningful integration, as well as realistic pedestrian safety and walkability, town connectivity, open spaces that meet a critical town need, and the type of award-winning development Mount Airy and its citizens deserve. I would be open to a continued collaboration with Pleasance to ensure the best possible outcome for Mount Airy, which is what I was elected to do. Thank you. I will now relinquish the floor to our Mayor Hushhour.
I'll start the timer on me, but I'm not going to take that long. I don't have a vote tonight, but I am extremely impressed with the council's research on all this, and I can read the tea leaves. There's going to be a split vote here tonight. And what I want to read is something that provides some cover, because people are going to think however they're going to think, but what you need to realize is that these council members have done their job. They've done their research and really labored on this decision. So to that point, what I want to express is that this decision does not require that people view someone up here as a bad guy or a good guy or lady, regardless of how they vote tonight. As a mayor, I attend a lot of meetings in Annapolis, and I'll tell you, kicking the can down the road could have some unintended consequences. The state legislature has a way of sneaking a toe into the water when it comes to zoning. And then once they get their toe in there and they're happy, then they stick their foot in there. And next thing you know, the leg's in there, and eventually they find a way to help you figure out your zoning. So could that happen? Possibly. I mean, I'm holding a bill right here, but the only thing that keeps this one out of Mount Airy is the fact that we don't have mass transit yet. But if you look at cannabis legislation, I mean, there's things going on that we've tried to prevent from happening, but Annapolis is down there figuring out how to get around it and make sure that what we passed is not suitable on a state level. So I'm just telling you, there could be something that comes down the road. There's risk in kicking that can, okay? What I want to communicate to the citizens of Mount Airy is that you have been amazing through this process, and honestly, you should be proud of what you achieved in your advocacy. We saw one developer depart. Another one came in through Pleasance, which is fine, and that's to be expected. We saw roughly 700 houses go all the way down to 350. We saw an open space waiver get nullified by a new council. We saw a minimum yield on water wells get approved. We saw change through election. We saw the apartments removed from the plan. The citizens got a whole new set of charrettes and a whole new public hearing. I was able to place 5 members on the Planning Commission and 2 on the Board of Appeals. I trust those appointees. And if this were passed, I have no doubt that they can ensure that the APFO requirements would be met by the developer. I'm not fearful in the least if this passed, because I know we have good people on the commissions. And I know that they'll do what's right for the town. Basically, the citizens to this point have shown a tremendous amount of control in this process, and I appreciate it. I also appreciate the developer accommodating all of these issues that came up and being willing to accommodate the citizens as they came up with concerns. I was hoping to continue the workshop to fine-tune some things, such as conditions on the safe crossing of Highway 27. We started Rails to Trails April 7th of 2013 with 2 people. And look what we've done since then. Being able to cross Highway 27 would be huge for that project. I think it is the thing that connects the entire town. If we could get across State Highway 27, then we're home free on having a walkable, bikeable town. And that's how important it is to me. But I also believe that if this were to pass tonight, then the Planning Commission and myself as the mayor and maybe Parks and Rec could jump in there and figure out a way to get that done. I think that through developers' rights and responsibilities, we could probably figure out a way to say, okay, start on the west side, build what you're going to build, but you're not going to the east side until we figure out a plan to safely cross Highway 27. So that's on that side of the issue. But conversely, and I suspect this might get rejected tonight. By now, we've seen about 20 to 30 emails. I think we were over 30 by the time I came down here, encouraging for this plan to be rejected by citizens. If that's the result from the majority of this council, then myself and the staff will deal with it, and we'll wait for Pleasance to respond and see what happens. I'm not worried about that. We're not running away. We're going to wake up tomorrow morning and deal with that vote. My main message to all the citizens is there are no votes tonight that warrant being upset at any of these council members. They're doing their job based on the information in front of them, and frankly, only time's going to tell how this plays out for the entire town. Either way the vote goes, the citizens can be proud of how we got here.
All right, thank you. Tom, would it be reasonable to open up for any other further discussion, or being that it's a different type of process that we're handling right now?
Yeah, it's up to you. I mean, you're the one to call when the discussion ends by calling for a vote on the on the pending motion.
All right. With that being said, in the time that we're looking at right now,
I just got one clarification maybe I can do. Councilman Demoda mentioned that he had discussions with the state highway. I saw some faces in the audience when he said, how do they come up, or how did you come up with a 6 to 8 lane potential for Route 27 if they widen it or fix it?
Councilmember Munder, I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to
No, I'm not debating.
I'm happy to answer questions after this.
Okay, well, let me rephrase that then.
no, that's okay. We're going to call a point of order. Right now, I'm going to close down the discussion portion of this. Again, if you guys would like to discuss after the meeting, that is perfectly acceptable. Right now, there's been a motion.
I have one point I'd like to make. This is,
Hold on, please. Tom, do we have to accept any more?
It's up to you, but was it a point of order or something you're asking?
it's an objection to the receipt of the policy opinion into the record. We've heard a lot of basically hearsay embodied in that. We don't know who these individuals are. I'm doing this to protect the record. We don't know who these individuals are, the source of knowledge, and we've had absolutely no ability to cross-examine the true witnesses. And for that reason, I would make an objection for the record that the record not incorporate the policy statement that was referred to by Councilman DeMotor.
Okay. We good? I will formally overrule the objection. Hearsay is permitted in this type of hearing. That being said, we do have a motion on the table. It has been seconded. We have gone through our discussion portion, which is now closed. For this particular vote, I am going to roll call for either your yay or nay vote for the denial or disapproval of the Mount Airy Crossing Beck property pre-concept plan. Councilmember Evans.
So what do I, just disapprove?
Yay if you want to disapprove, nay if you do not.
I'm a yay.
Say it.
I'm a yay.
Councilmember Munder.
Nay.
Council Secretary Galletti.
I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Councilmember DeMotor.
Yay.
I am a yay as well. All right, thank you very much. Next up on the agenda, we have a road closure, Monday, July 1st, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. American Spirit Parade, Main Street from West Watersville Road, Cottonwood Avenue to Park Avenue to Twin Arch Road.
Hold on, Council. Are we still on the new businesses, first road closer out of the three?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yep. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. And I will call Nancy Hernandez if you have any explanations or anything you'd like to explain.
Basically, we're submitting all three of our town road closures for the year. We thought we would do it all together so you could get it out of the way. We only intend to close the road these 3 times. There might be other private organizations that choose to do additional, but these are the 3 town road closures. And the Celebrate Mount Airy and the Christmas parade are pretty similar to what we've done in the past. The only new one is for the July 1st parade. So if you have any questions about that, the route is slightly different. We'll be ending at the carnival grounds. So we'll be crossing 27, which is why this year we're planning to just have motorized vehicles. We're not going to have any walkers or any animal-drawn vehicles because we're not certain how long exactly it will take to cross 27. We want it to be a quick process. We do have the sign-off of the Mount Airy Police Department and also the Maryland State Police. And then if you approve our road closures, then we'll be submitting to the State Highway Administration for their final approval.
All right, does anyone have any questions for the road closure from Monday, July 1st from 6 to 8 p.m.?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve a road closure Monday, July 1st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the American Spirit Parade. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor to approve the road closure for Monday, July 1st, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
We're hoping that you'll want to participate. That'll be coming later.
We moved our meeting for that one, so we'll be there. All right. The next one is a road closure Saturday, August 31st from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's the Celebrate Mount Airy, Main Street from Prospect Road to Paradise Avenue. This is a pretty reoccurring event. Do we have any questions for Ms. Hernandez?
I just got one quick question regarding the time for the road closure. Notice the event is from 5 to 8. The road closure will begin at 4. I'm just wondering if that's enough time to allow vendors and other people to get in, set everything up, and get ready for the event opening at, I want to say 5. I just want to make sure that, do we need to close it like an hour earlier, half an hour earlier, or is that enough time?
It does push it, but we're trying to limit the amount of time that we actually have the road fully shut down so that we can allow, other people to get to their homes and, limit the distraction, limit the impact. And that is the time that we've done in the past, and we have been able to make it work. It is tight, I will say.
All right, if you believe it's, I mean, I don't have a problem closing at 3:30 just to make sure something, it's set up, ready, and go, but it's up to the council. I mean, if they can be done at 4:30, that's okay with me, too.
We try to have the...
Not 4:34, I mean.
We do try to have the groups that are going to be in the rail yard come earlier. They can set up there, and then we just do the people that are on the actual main street from 4 to 5.
I'm fine, man, thank you.
All right, well, with no further questions, we'll entertain a motion. That's all right. I'll make a motion to approve the road closure for Saturday, August 31st for Celebrate Mount Airy. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor to close, for the road closure for Saturday, August 31st from 4 to 9 for Celebrate Mount Airy, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. And last one. Road closure, Saturday, December 7th, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a Main Street Christmas parade. This is also a pretty normal every year thing. So any questions for Ms. Hernandez? All right, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve a road closure for Saturday, December 7th from 5 to 9 for a Main Street Christmas parade. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Nancy.
Please come to our event.
Thanks, Nancy. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have a bond reduction, Twin Arch Business Park, for lots 8 through 19 and 35. I'll relinquish to our town engineer, Barney Quinn, for any follow-up.
So section 4, lots 8, 19, and 35. This is a reduction in letter credit for $421,000. And
Marty, can you pull your mic closer, or at least focus it towards your...
so release requested was $456,000. What we're recommending is $421,957.50.
Any questions?
Quick question, just say, so we're reducing about, say, 421 and some change, so there appears to be still left about 455 on the bond, if I'm reading it right?
Balance on hand, $877,000.
I'm just going by the first page, Barney, that's all.
They're requesting 456 of the 877.
Okay, gotcha.
As balance on hand.
Okay, total remaining is 455, 378. Okay, cool, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
Make a motion for the town council to approve the recommended reduction of $421,957.50 as recommended for Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4, lots 8 through 19 and 35.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor to approve the bond reduction for the Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4, lots 8 through 19 and 35, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next up, we have a recommendation for awarding the annual paving contract for fiscal year 24-25 to MT Laney. Mr. Quinn, I will relinquish the floor for any information.
Thank you. We had 7 bids to come in for paving, which was pretty good response. When we read the bids aloud, we did read Pleasance Construction had a lower bid than the others. However, they had the old bid form, which left out a couple of things and left out one of the prices and some of the unit quantities were changed with the new bid form. And so when we did the numbers and looked at it, it was clear that MT Laney was the true low bidder. So just so you know that, was brought up. We did talk with Pleasance Construction and with Laney, and everybody's good with the actual numbers. So the prices were also favorable with our budgets. We are looking at doing the Village of Tall Oaks, where the Village of Tall Oaks is doing their portion with the parking spaces, and we would be doing the drive aisles. They have enough money saved up, and it's actually favorable for them. They have more than, what they're going to need to be able to do that. So, and we'll be able to do the Village of Nottingham, which is the first section of Nottingham, and then 2 other streets, which is Aaron Lane, the lane primarily leaving Backacre Circle going down. It's really getting bad. And then also one stretch just on the lane going down from on Ridgeside Drive from Arby's down towards Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
Again, just an area where that's stretching. This will allow us to have some extra that we could work later in the summer or next summer to be able to maybe do some more. So that's just want to give you a heads up that there will probably be extra with the budget that we have currently.
Okay. One quick question I would have, when deciding who gets paved and when, is there a tracker, or do we come around, in every decade and just look, or do we just look at the most needed areas and then just fix those? Meaning, is there a plan in place to do a certain section every couple years or however long it is?
Yeah. So every couple of years, we'll go around and we'll drive the roads.
Okay.
We'll look at them. Sometimes just driving it, you can miss the cracks. You can miss, what's really happening with the road. Sometimes you got to get out. But we try to do an update to a 5-year plan.
Okay.
So that's about as long as we try to take a look at. We also know what roads we've done in the past, like Prospect Road. We paved Prospect Road about 19 years ago. And with a heavy road, 20 years is a good amount of time. So we're right almost on target anyhow with that, doing the water main. So that's one gauge, is looking at what you've done, and the way our budgets have run is the heavy roads that get traveled a lot, get a lot of use. 20 to 25 years is what we're looking at, and the roads that are back in the neighborhoods more like 30 to 35 years.
Okay.
And so it gives us an idea where to go look, but no matter what, we still go around and look at every road.
Okay.
Drive the 45, 47 miles of road that we have.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Makes sense. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. So just to confirm, Barney, so what would be helpful, and you've already agreed to do this, I just want to make sure we get it on the record. We're doing stuff on the record tonight. The Streets and Roads Commission charter, one of the duties in the charter says something to the effect, streets and roads shall review the annual paving and repaving plan developed by the town engineer and provide feedback, et cetera. So in the future, we do want to make sure that Streets and Roads gets that annually. They have an opportunity to review it and provide feedback. So that is going to happen, correct, Mr. Mayor? That's part of we're going to make that part of the formal process, because it hasn't been lately.
We've always been open to that. I'll just speak to that in the 20 years I've been here. It seems like whoever's either in charge of the streets and roads or liaison to the streets and roads, not everybody's been consistent with how they would like to see it or how we'd like to handle it. So we've just handled it, and you're requesting that. We certainly are open to sharing it.
But just factually, the charter says shall be done. So it's not kind of do it here, we didn't do it there. Our code says that shall happen, so it shouldn't be a question anymore. That should be provided to Streets and Roads. Just wanted to.
The question is the format that it's
Right.
delivered in. And if the chairman asks for it in a particular format, we'll provide that.
Okay.
Okay?
We need the information formally. Thank you.
All right.
So anyhow, the recommendation is to award this to MT Laney. What we did is we added a contingency because we know there's a lot of broken asphalt out there. So we added a 25% contingency. So the 530,000 is actually 25% over their bid.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any further questions for Barney? All right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Entertain the motion for the, hold on, let me get it, the annual paving contract fiscal year 2024-2025 be approved as recommended by town staff. Annual paving, the contract not to exceed amount of $530,000 to MT Laney and Company.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, we have a motion to approve MT Laney to receive the 2024-2025 award for the annual paving contract for the amount not to exceed $530,000. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you very much, Barney. Next up, we have our commission appointments and reappointments. I will relinquish to Mayor Hushhour.
All right, I'm making the following recommendations for commission appointments. Kathy Smith to be appointed as the Beautification Commission as an alternate.
Are we doing it one at a time or just group?
If you want to group them, we have a reappointment, Nathan Birch to be reappointed to the Water and Sewer Commission.
I will make a motion to approve Kathy Smith to the Beautification Commission as an alternate, and Nathan Birch to be reappointed to the Water and Sewer Commission. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor of both approvals, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, we are now finally into our ordinances and resolutions portion of the agenda. First up will be ordinance 2024-4 to adopt tax rates for fiscal year 24-25. This is up for adoption. Do we have a motion?
All right. I make the motion to adopt ordinance, hold on, let me get the number of it, 2024-4, which is related to setting the tax rates for the town of Mount Airy for fiscal year 2024 through 2025, and the tax rate shall be as recommended within the ordinance.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
Do you mind if I read a statement and then go into
Yeah, we're on the
discussion?
discussion.
That's fine.
Okay, all right. So this actually covers this ordinance and the budget ordinance, so I only got to read it once. Citizens and council, I would like to begin this discussion by reading an excerpt from several of the town's past annual financial audits. To be clear, this verbiage was also included in Mayor Rockenberg's final audit as well. So we knew this day would come. Future revenues will be among the most important topics of discussion for our elected officials in the coming years. Without an increase in revenue, the town will no longer be able to provide the same level of services to its citizens. Planning for the future financial health of the town will be the focus of the mayor and the town council. Increasing real estate tax revenue can be accomplished via two means: by increasing the tax rate on the existing revenue sources, or increasing the tax base from which the revenue is collected, development of properties. Either method will be beneficial to the fiscal health of the town. We have been very lucky in utilizing ARPA money to keep our tax rate stable while rebuilding infrastructure for the town. Thus, I am happy that we kept the tax rate stable for the first 2 years of my and 3 of our council members' terms. Our operating costs have stayed within our means, and at our current rate, we would be able to balance our operating budget once again. And the staff has done an excellent job in funding capital projects through grants, though the extraneous associated costs have slowly depleted the town's reserves. to a concerning level. It is no secret that the town council members and I have been discussing the need to build a police station for a police department. Every year, the town spends $75,000 to rent a portion of a building that serves as our current station. This current location, while adequate in some regards, does not meet the codes as established by our policies in regard to building construction. The combination of annual expenses and inadequacy of the current space mandates a long-term solution. That solution is to build a police station. This will be an expensive endeavor, most likely requiring a bond to pay the full expense of design and construction. To repay the bond, this budget proposes a 3-cent tax raise, taking our taxes from 0.1662 to 0.1962 per $100 assessed in real estate value. This will supply enough revenue to make payments to the bond over a 20-year period. I take some comfort that even in this rate, Mount Airy will still remain the lowest taxed municipality in Carroll County. I'll close this by stating the council and I have received many emails, probably a couple dozen this week, concerning future development of town. And that kind of played out earlier today. Going back to that opening quote from myself and former Mayor Rockenberg, we either need to increase revenue through development or unfortunately see a tax increase. I unfortunately, and even regrettably, am at the helm of the USS Mount Airy in a time when we need to find a permanent home for our police station, and that's a reality. I also must deal with national high inflation driving up the cost of everything required for a town to function, while dealing with dwindling reserves and accepted resistance by the citizens of the town to allow for development to occur. I am unfortunately placed in a position where, as a responsible mayor, to inform my constituents that to maintain our quality of life as a top 10 city in Maryland, we must add to our tax rate by 3 cents. Again, at 0.1962, we are still the lowest taxed municipality in Carroll counties. The highlights that are in the budget, when we get to that point, we are adding a 12th officer. We're creating funding for that police station to occur. PFAS remediation is in the budget, and the traffic circle is still in there, Lynn. So.
Question is, will it be done soon?
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
So we have a motion. It has been seconded. Do we have any further discussion on the adoption of the tax rates for fiscal year 24-25?
Yes, I have some comments, and hopefully I'll have about the same time to give comments that the mayor had offered some comments.
That's fine.
Just bear with me. I do not support raising the tax rate in this coming year. I understand that costs have gone up for everything. I understand the cost of materials. I understand inflation. I get it. But so too have our citizens dealt with increasing costs. They're paying more for gas, more for food, more for car insurance, more for all kinds of insurance, more for rent. And to me, you don't raise taxes when things are bad. You take the opportunity to raise taxes when everyone's doing well. This is not the appropriate time to raise taxes. I want to read an email that I received from a citizen. I'm concerned about the significant property tax increase in the proposed budget. We are all already struggling with high inflation for everyday items such as groceries, and this increase will cause additional strain on our budgets. In addition, most properties within the town have already received a significant tax increase as their property value assessments have increased substantially over the last few years. Frederick County citizens of town already pay one of the highest tax rates in the state for property. I realize that the services that the citizens want have a significant cost, but feel this is too large of an increase to approve. I also want to read a couple other things here. Listen to this. 1,636 carts of groceries were distributed. thousands of gift cards were distributed to help with fresh foods, toiletries, and gas. 770 guests visited Mount Airy Net in 2022, an increase of over 61.2% from the prior year. 109 of 770 clients were new clients, up by 153% from the prior year. This is just for 2022. Mount Airy Net has not provided their annual report for 2023. People in this town pay taxes, and they are hurting and struggling, and this is not the right time to be raising taxes. I've looked at the budget. When we had our budget workshop, I started to question some of the expenditures, and I saw there was no real appetite to really try and cut the budget a little bit more to see where we could get to. I've looked at the budget. I believe we can get where we need to get in terms of making a bond payment for the police station this year by getting the resources from other areas in the budget. And I've done it, and I think it can be done. So lastly, when I look at this, a number of things are going to resolve themselves over the next year. We're going to probably resolve the location of where we're going to put the police station. We're going to resolve some of the additional details of the building. We're going to resolve whether or not we're going to have a development of Mount Airy Crossing. I know we took a vote tonight. Perhaps that decision is not final. I think over the next year that will play out. I know we have PFAS in the budget, but that's for treatments that are already approved, for which we've gotten grants. We've applied for 2 additional grants, which we're going to hear about in the fall. If we don't get those grants, then the town's going to have to figure out how to address PFAS for our other 2 water stations. So I think a lot of things are going to resolve themselves over the next year. Might we have to raise taxes? Perhaps. But I don't think this is the time to do it. And I cannot support this tax increase. Thank you.
All right, any other? Councilman Munder?
Yes, Council President, I got a question for you. Councilman DeMotor again. Hopefully he's willing to debate or at least give me more information on this. The same argument he used last year was that he didn't vote for it. He went through the budget with a fine-tooth comb. He believes so. And then yet again, I'll ask you this. What areas of the budget do you believe you can find approximately $500,000 a year to cover, or whatever the bond payment is, to cover the bond payment for this year?
Okay, so first of all, we're talking about a tax approval. Of a tax,
tax approval, but you said.
Councilman Munder.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to have a workshop. However, I will answer that question when we get to the budget portion.
No, you're talking to tax rate, sir.
Point of order, both of you.
Okay.
We're going to talk one at a time.
Okay.
Or I'll shut it down.
All right.
All right, we don't operate this way anymore.
Gotcha.
If you'd like to answer the question
I'm done.
during the budget portion, that's fine.
Thank you.
Councilman Munder, do you have any other
Yes,
questions?
sir, because he was indicating the tax rate, it isn't related to the tax rate. We're not talking about the budget. He has indicated the tax rate does not have to be raised this year because he has found areas that would offset the need for the tax rate. So before we disapprove or approve the tax rate, I would like to see if he has been able, and what areas in this budget he has been willing to publicly say he is willing to cut, and if there's jobs related within the town staff to do that, so we do not have to vote yay or nay on this tax rate. It's not related to specific areas of the budget.
Understood.
I have made my statement. I'm not here to debate. However, when we get to the budget section, I will offer specific information.
Sir, okay, sorry.
That's his answer. We're going to move on now.
All right.
All right, any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to approve the adoption of the tax rates for fiscal year 2024-25. Should we do a roll call for this as well, or are we good?
You probably don't need to.
Okay, all right. All in favor for the approval of the tax rates for fiscal year 2025, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right, thank you. 4-1. All right. Next up, we have ordinance 2024-5 to adopt the budget for fiscal year 24-25. This is for adoption. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion for adoption of the ordinance 2024-5, which is regarding the adoption of the budget as proposed. Guess that's good enough.
That's fine. All right, I will second, and we are now in the discussion portion. Mayor, do you have anything else you'd like to add at all?
No, but I may have some rebuttal.
Okay. Then I'll make sure to check in with you before we get back to that. Right. So we've had a motion. It's been seconded. Anyone who wishes to speak?
I will reiterate my previous question to Councilman Demoter.
All right.
Unfortunately, it's after the tax increase vote, but I'll take it now.
Anyone else, any of my contemporaries have any comments before I answer?
Floor is yours, sir.
Okay. So I believe the bond payment with the interest is somewhere around $350,000. Now, you may or may not agree with my assessment, but I have an assessment. Where would the money come from? There's $100,000 in the budget for the Flatiron Building. It can come from there. I think we have $230,000 down for the fire department. You could take all $230,000 from that. You could take, I'm proposing $150,000 from that. That would still leave a stipend of about $80,000, which is much more than most municipalities provide to their volunteer fire departments. Downtown revitalization, I saw about a 40% increase in that budget line item. I'd take $18K from that. Urban renewal, not understanding the details of that, I'd take $10K out of that. I believe for Prospect Park, there was a budget of $100,000. I think the previous year, that was budgeted for $60,000, and then no work proceeded on that. So I would keep that at $60,000, and I'd take $40,000 from that. I would take the $10,000 out of the request I made for the refurbishment of a crosswalk. And I don't know what that totals up to, but that probably gets you up to around $320,000. And if I had to take $30,000 from somewhere else or take it from the reserves, $30,000 seems like we could do that. Mind you, we're taking $400,000 out of the reserves for the roundabout. So I'm just making the point, if we wanted to, it could be done. It requires cutting other areas for priorities. I'll make this other statement too. What I was disheartened by in the budget process was we kind of pick capital projects in a vacuum. We pick the ones that come up. I haven't seen, at least it hasn't been presented to me as a council member, a prioritized list of capital projects where, we may have 6 or 7 or 8 capital projects. What's the priority of those projects? What's the expected funding? Where is the money going to come from? Is it a health, safety, security issue or some other issue? What's the view from the citizens on what they want? What are the risks associated with the project? How much time has staff already invested in researching and working on that project? For that's cost also. And if you had a list that was then prioritized from the chief executive, and then the council members could look at that list and say, all right, that's your prioritization, I'm going to do my prioritization, and then I could figure out what projects were most important to fund, because you can't do all the projects. So I could talk even more about that, but I think I've answered the questions very professionally in light of the way they were provided to me. So thank you.
I'll take that as the insult that it was intended as. Second off, can we go over the list so I can say, so 100,000 for the Flatiron, which would basically gut the budget, cut any matching money, if I record, and basically shut down any hope that a well-intentioned volunteer force hopes to revitalize downtown. Second, the 18,000 from the downtown improvements, I believe, would destroy the small town charm related to downtown, and particularly the Christmas parade, because I believe that was related to the funding of refurbishing and replacement of approximately 20, 25-year-old wreaths. The 230,000 from the fire department at this moment in the budget process would probably hurt their budget extremely bad. The $10,000 from the crosswalk, I don't mind that one, because in reality, that doesn't need it, and I was going to suggest removal of that already to put it back. So if you're admirable, so it's nice that you've already agreed or be willing to take that out of the budget from the streets and roads. I thank you for that. The $100,000 for Prospect Park, I believe it was discussed, that is much needed revamp. Our public works director came in and said the park is old, it's showing its age. They've replaced the wall once. And yet again, so you're denying the citizens of this town a potential for a brand new park, and it's probably the last remaining park that needs to be replacement. And I do take offense, even though I'm not professional at times, I know, Tim, almost, I am willing to answer the questions when I'm asked of those. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
All right. Anyone else have any discussion?
Yeah, I'd make a comment.
Sure.
Respectfully. So this is the memo that you gave us, which was a very good memo, talking about how much it would cost, to fund a police station. And it basically shows that, the equivalent of roughly 3 cents on top of the tax rate would be able to fund the payment without having to pull from reserves. And I'll grant you, we differ in terms of priorities. I think the 100,000 on top of the Flatiron is good. I think that working with the fire company and finding a reasonable number is good. But part of the reason that our budget is set the way that it is, and part of the reason that the tax rate is going up, is because a year and a half ago, such a stink was made about the fact that we were renting a police station and the fact that we needed a permanent police station, that I factored that in so that we could get moving on something that was a priority to you a year and a half ago. And the article that came out after you voted against the budget last year plainly says, though the capital budget includes $500,000 for the design and engineering of a new police station, Demoter expressed regret that more money wasn't allocated to the project. I was disappointed that we had the opportunity to really put a stake in the ground and show our citizens that we were committed to fully addressing this critical infrastructure need to fund a police station and support our police department, he said. Demoter said he believes that safety, health, and quality of life should be the first priority in the budget. Okay, so that's why you voted against the budget last year. And frankly, I found a way to get the money to get moving on a police station, and now you're not happy about that. So I'm not, the vote's going to go how the vote's going to go, but frankly, I'm taking a step forward on building a police station, which was a high priority to you, but now it doesn't seem to be.
Council President, may I?
You have a rebuttal?
Yes. So, yes, the reason why I didn't vote for the budget last year was because I didn't think there was enough priority on the safety aspects. That's why I voted against the budget. I totally agree. I'm very pleased that we're finally putting a stake in the ground and making a commitment to the police station. I'm very happy about that because you are actually following generally the white paper I prepared as to how we could potentially fund this. I didn't say fund it through tax increases at the time. I said, here's how we would have to do it to save some money to purchase land, and then here's how much a police station would cost, and then various interest rates and bond amounts for 20 years, here's what a payment would be. My point at the time was, I thought we had the money where we could make that bond payment. So my only point tonight is, I'm not poo-pooing the approach. I'm saying I would not have raised taxes for this year because I think we can proceed with this plan for the police station by not raising taxes for this year. And by the end of this year, as I said, a number of other things are going to resolve themselves. I would be in a better position to then, if we had to raise taxes, make that decision next year because I'd have all this other information available on some of these things that I think are going to resolve themselves. So just to give an answer, I'm going to vote for the budget. Because it has the priorities that I think overall are needed. I don't like some of the other spending, but it has the key priorities that we should be focusing on, which is police officer, getting the 12th officer, and having a police station. I just don't think we need to do it this year because of all the reasons that I said. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a fair enough comment. I would, the only contrast I would throw in there is that, yeah, maybe you could get through another year. Might even be able to get through 2 years.
Right.
But there's so many things that are going on. It's not just, it's primarily about the police station, but we also have to figure out that every pump we buy and replace costs more. And we don't know what's going to fail between now and next year. So I just think that it's not sustainable to think that we can just keep kicking the can down the road because eventually we're depleting those remaining reserves at a dramatic rate. So fundamental difference of opinion. Right. So
that's a fair point.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Discussion or make potential changes to the budget? Would that be now or later?
That would, yeah, I mean, that would be a table amendment. We have a motion and a second.
Who made the did I make the motion?
You would have to make an amendment. Well, yeah, who did make the motion?
Carl.
I did, so I got to control. Okay. Okay.
Carl made the motion. I seconded.
I might need you for this, Katie, because I'm not specifically familiar with the line item. I make a motion to amend my previous motion to put an amendment in there that we remove the $10,000 that was reallocated for the repaving or resurfacing, relining, whatever you want to call it, of the crosswalk in front of the rail yard, between that and Bangoos, please. I don't know exactly what sure the line item is on that. Road maintenance and repair, and put that towards maybe some other much more needed maintenance and repair of the roads here in town.
All right, we have a amendment to the initial motion made. Do we have a second for that amendment? Hearing none, the amendment dies. So we are back to the original amendment, correct? I'm sorry, original motion. All right. Any further discussion?
I just want to say one thing if I could.
Absolutely.
I want to thank the mayor because I don't know if the public realizes how much time the mayor and staff put into really doing a fiscally responsible budget and everything that goes into it. So thank you, Mayor.
I will also state this was my first time, obviously, doing a budget season. It was rather stressful. But I want to be very honest. I, when campaigning, ran on becoming self-reliant, ran on not counting on developers or outside help to force us into a situation where we have to accept development in order to fund our reserves or in order to continue our way of life. At a certain point, you have to make a decision. And that, that enough is enough, and we are satisfied with the way our town looks, feels, and sits. Well, in order for us to continue that satisfaction, is that a word? Satisfaction, it's late, satisfaction, basically, you have to put that stake in the ground. You have to realize that without developers coming in and getting all these impact fees, which we've depleted over the last couple of years, taxes have to go up just a little bit, and we have to also cut the budget, which I do believe the mayor did a very good job in trimming a lot of fat out and having just the needs, which is predominantly there instead of the wants, which have been there in the past. So I will support this budget, but becoming self-reliant is key for this town to remain the way that it is. Any further discussion? I'm done making up words as well. All right. All right, we have, I know. She was trying to tell me something. All right, so we have a motion, it's been seconded, and now we will go to our vote. So, all in favor to adopt the budget for fiscal year 24-25, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you, Mayor, for all your hard work, and town staff. All right. Next up, a little bit more of a happy topic, ordinance 2024-7, budget amendment to add $20,000 for sewer line inspection on Back Acre Circle for adoption. Barney, do you have any specifics that you would like to, for the?
No, it's, again, it's inspection money that we collected in the PWA years ago when we started Section 4 of Twin Arch Business Park. And now we're needing that money to pay for that inspection, so.
Okay, so this is not taxpayer money, it's more just stuff that you got previously?
Correct.
Money that you got previously?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Barney? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion to approve ordinance 2024-7 to adopt, thank you. I'm getting used to this, Holly, for the amount of $20,000 related to the purposes stated forth in the ordinance.
All right, I will second. Do we have any discussion? All right, hearing none. We have a motion and a second for the budget amendment to add $20,000 for sewer line inspection on Back Acre Circle. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, the rest of these should go pretty quick. And they will be for introduction.
Oh, that one, okay, I thought you said resolution, I'm getting,
So,
my hearing's
ordinance
going up.
2024-8, budget amendment to remove $270,000 from the water main replacement and wastewater treatment plant lab upgrades and reallocate $27,204 from water main replacement to water meter replacement. This is for introduction. I will introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll see this next month.
Just want to clarify for the people, the next several ordinances are just the normal housekeeping for budgetary reasons.
All right, ordinance 2024-9. I'm going to make a motion to withdraw this ordinance due to it just being redundant, and it basically is the same exact thing for 2024-10. So I'll make a motion to withdraw 2024-9. Do we have a second?
Second.
Does this need an all in favor? Yes. Okay. With the second, do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor to withdraw ordinance 2024-9, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Ordinance 2024-10, budget amendment to remove $1,770,000 from water system PFAS remediation. I will introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, let's see the next one. Ordinance 2024-11, budget amendment to remove $500,000 from Center Street connection. I will make a motion to introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
2024-12, budget amendment to remove $1,140,000 from South Main Street roundabout for introduction. I will introduce. Do we have a second?
Second. Lynn's roundabout, okay.
It's 2024-13, budget amendment to remove $495,000 for the permanent police station. I will move to introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ordinance 2024-14, budget amendment to remove $60,000 for Prospect Park improvements. I will make a motion to introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ordinance 2024-15, budget amendment to remove $35,000 from general fund revenue for revenue, donations, grants regarding MAPD. I will move to introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ordinance 2024-16, budget amendment to remove $50,000 for police retirement. This is for introduction. I will introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Ordinance 2024-17, budget amendment to remove $78,000 for police benefits. Do we have an introduction?
Oh, I introduce ordinance 2024-17, let's see, amending the budget by reducing the general fund operating budget by $78,000 for town police, force insurance, and employee benefits.
I'll second.
Almost, you got me.
Not the only one that can mess up. All right. Ordinance 2024-18, budget amendment to remove $166,000 for police salaries. I will introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
2024-19, budget amendment to move $22,964 from the community garden revenue and expenses for food, forest, from the general fund capital budget to the general fund operating budget. I will move to introduce. Do we have a second?
Second. Oh.
Ordinance 2024-20, to allow up to 2 members of the Sustainability Commission to be non-town residents. I will move to introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Right. And last but not least, annexation resolution 2024-46, 1.3189 acres of land located at 4111 Twin Arch Road for introduction and referral to the Planning Commission. I will move to introduce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Right. We have no unfinished business on the agenda, so at this time, the council will move into a closed session for statutory authority 3-305B, subset 3, in the subject matter of land acquisition. Following the conclusion of the closed session, the May 6th council meeting will be adjourned. We will now roll call into a closed session. Councilmember Evans.
Aye.
Councilmember Munder.
Aye.
Council Secretary Galletti.
Aye.
Councilmember Demoter.
Aye.
I am an aye as well. Thank you guys very much.